Hi there, good evening and welcome along to the MODUS Super Series. It's Thursday night, ready for the start of Group B. 10 matches coming up live here on Sporty Stuff TV. And here is a look at who is in action. Jordan Brooks reached finals night last time he played at the Super Series. The Fleetwood Flinger begins his latest campaign in a difficult Group B. The field tonight includes a former world champion in the shape of quickfire Dutchman Jelle Klaassen, who won his week in the last series. Equally fast thrower Alexander Merckx is another former weekly winner and showed good form in Group A this week. As did the X-Factor Andy Bolton, looking to seal his return to the big Saturday night performance. Yeah, Mark Hilton, Mile High, former World Grand Prix quarter-finalist, also in this group tonight. It's his debut. Matthew Edgar alongside me. Mark Hilton, were you on tour at the same time, you guys?
I was, and may I just say before this even starts, he's probably the finest 57-year-old looking man I've ever seen. He's looking very, very well. I was around the same sort of time as him. He was a very, very good quality player. In 2010, won the PDC's Newcomer of the Year. He's a newcomer here. Could he win that? That's me inventing the MODUS Super Series yearly awards as well. But very good player. I remember fondly him playing Phil Taylor at the World Match Play, and he gave him a mighty scare. And this was when Phil Taylor just blew everyone away. I mean, Phil Taylor at Blackpool, him lifting the trophy just seems to go hand in hand. Mark Hilton nearly took him out in round one in a very, very good game of darts.
Yeah, that is Matthew Edgar, by the way, before anyone starts getting annoyed about certain things being different. But yeah, Mark Hilton, on his debut here, you said good newcomer. He's had to come through the ADC system to get here. We'll take a look at all of the groups this week. But the ADC system has not only provided Mark Hilton this week, it's also provided Jelle Klaassen, Alexander Merckx, both former weekly winners, Richard Hosier was very good this afternoon, and a certain Luke Littler. It kind of works, doesn't it?
The system, I really enjoy it and I really like it. I've spoken many times about players that have probably gone unearthed over the years, those quality players from every area. Anyone who knows darts knows there's a player nearby who should have made it. And what the ADC has done is it's took darts to them, so they don't have to travel with this vault system. It gives them the opportunity then to come here at the Super Series and prove themselves, which we've seen so many people do now over the last year or so.
Well, do you know darts? Let's find out. The bookies certainly do. And here is what they think of this group. Matthew Edgar, primetime tipster. Do you concur?
I think it's probably right, but I think the gap between Bolton and Klaassen is a lot smaller than the odds suggest. The odds suggest Andy Bolton at odds on is going to win this group. I think Jelle Klaassen is going to be a lively contender in that. He's coming into this full of form and confidence. He's been winning titles for the last month. And I think coming into a Group B is going to suit. And I don't think there's anyone in here that's going to sort of upset his rhythm too much. I think he's going to be a big live danger.
Okay, well, we've shown you some decent bet builders this week. A few of you have got that extra takeaway tonight, I'm sure, because you're dining out on following some of these bet builders. Of course, please do gamble responsibly, but this is the one put together for tonight. 180 is Andy Bolton. That's been a successful bet this week, actually, him to 180 in those big matches. Brooks versus Merckx, getting at least a couple of maximums in that one, and then Klaassen to beat Merckx in that final match.
I think the Andy Bolton 180 Klaassen game, I think that's good because you're going to get a lot of legs. That's not going to be a game that's going 4-0, 4-1. That's going to be potentially one that goes all the way, just holding the throw all the way through. I'm not overly confident on the Merckx game with the over 1.5 because that, to me, has one of those games where both players have sort of wavy lines of performance, and if one of them drops it in that, we're not going to get as many legs. I think if you're going to go over 1.5, you need to make sure you're going to get plenty of game time. Yeah, that treble paying just over 7-1. Of course, do gamble responsibly. 18 plus begambleaware.org for more information on safer gambling. Look, Mark Hilton and Alexander Merckx are on the stage behind me. And joining Matt in commentary tonight will be Paul Nicholson, who caught up with Mile High a little earlier.
Mark, it's great to have you here at the MODUS Super Series. It's been a while since we've seen you. What have you been up to?
It certainly has been a while, and it's lovely to be here. A chance again to be in the spotlight. I'm not playing as much darts as I used to. if I'm brutally honest, I'm probably not as dedicated as I used to be. I've had a few health issues over the years, so all I'm doing now is playing a bit of ADC and some local leagues. And unfortunately, I have to work for a living now.
Your group is particularly competitive here this evening. Based on what you just said, what are your expectations?
I'm here to do myself justice, and that's about it, really. I'm not expecting to perform and win the group. I'm not what you would call a professional player. I wouldn't even call myself a semi-professional player now. I just play local leagues. All these guys I'm playing tonight are far more experienced now, and they're virtually professional dart players, especially Yella. So I'm just here to enjoy it. And if I can sort of get back into how I used to play in the old days, then I could probably beat some of them. But I'll be an outsider, but who knows?
You must be looking forward to just getting up there and playing against some of these guys, though.
Oh, exactly. I haven't been on the stage for a long time. It's an opportunity. I know there's people at home watching me, and they'll be cheering me on. But as long as I do myself justice, then I'll be more than happy with that. But I think if I can enjoy myself up there and relax, because I'm not used to this like I used to be, then who knows?
Play well. All the very best to you.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Of the World Grand Prix and UK Open quarterfinals. He takes on Alexander Merckx, a weekly winner in this MODUS Super Series. And guiding you through every dart tonight is the man who was just speaking to him, Paul Nicholson, and the man who was just speaking to me, Matthew Edgar.
Good evening, Murph, and good evening to everybody. Welcome to Group B. This is week 9. We've already had some darts this afternoon, and a very competitive Group C day 1. We're about to see the foundations of Group B, though, and it's a very warm welcome to this man, Mile High Mark Hilton, because he used to be a flight attendant, didn't he? I don't think air steward flies very well these days, so flight attendant sounds about right. But will he fly in a group where he doesn't really big himself up, Matthew Edgar? He's just here to find out if he can still mix it with people like this.
I like the fact he says, if I can just enjoy myself up there as
100.
well, which is ultimately what anyone picks a dart up for the first time for. It's a game. We're supposed to enjoy it. It's supposed to be fun, and we lose sight of that along the way, but he's sort of refinding that and just that love for playing darts. Still can't believe he's 57. I've said it once already. I'm probably going to say it many more times.
59.
Can we just go back on what you said about this is supposed to be fun? Is that what you said?
It's supposed to be.
Okay, as long as we've got that straight. But Mark, who has said he's had some health issues over the last few years, he hasn't played anything of great note over the last few seasons.
38.
The fact of the matter is, he can probably still fling a decent dart, that's for sure. And we'll talk a
60.
fair bit this evening about what he has done before. Because at one period, around 12 years ago, he was very dangerous. And nobody wanted to play him.
100.
Still got a little bit of chalk on the barrels, I see. He's one of those players like Keith Deller and Johnny Haynes.
60.
This is not a bad start for Mark. I'm sure the heart is beating a bit. He hasn't been on the stage for a while, but that action hasn't changed.
81.
Not at all. It's one of the most unorthodox actions, actually, in the whole sport. But boy, did it work for a good few years
60.
for Mark Hilton.
Mark your require 123.
Got 2 visits for 1, 2, 3. He would take 83 off you right now.
68.
Well, that's better than hitting the 60 again.
It is one of those sort of games for Mark Hilton. He needs to get that first
100.
leg on the board as
Mark
quick
require
as possible
55.
so that he can just settle into the night. Don't want to start chasing doubles around the board.
$35.
He was chasing.
Alexander your require
Now
76.
he has to wait to see if Alexander can take this first leg. He might. And does.
On the first leg, Alexander
In his last
Mertz.
2 games in Group A, on double 16, he was an assassin. He just didn't miss the mark.
Second leg, Alexander to throw first.
Pun
Game on.
intended?
Oh, yeah.
No, then.
100.
Totally caught myself out there. Well, let's talk about Alexander, because throughout Group A, where he picked up 7 wins for 14 points, he was on the same points tally as Sebastian
53.
Białecki. But he had a better leg difference by virtue of an extra 5 legs.
85.
That's why he's in this group, and that's why he didn't play this afternoon. However, Białecki has bounced back perfectly, winning all 5 games this afternoon. We'll see more from him tomorrow. As for Alexander, though, he won his last 2 matches
55.
in that group to get here, and boy, did he play well in the last game. His best performance of the week, averaging 98.72. And in fact, if we want to go one further than that, that is the best performance from somebody this week not called Luke Littler.
Shows character, doesn't it? When you can do it when it means the most, when you really
60.
need that performance and you pull out your best.
I've said all week, he's the kind of player that closes a session well,
140.
and he likes a Group B as well. He's won a Group B before, and when he comes here, he never fails to make Saturday night. Perfect record, which is exactly the
54.
same for Andy
Alexander
Bolton
116.
and Jelle Klaassen, who you will see here in this group as well. Double top.
Game on the second leg, Alexander
He's in a pretty
Mertz.
good place all of a sudden. He nicked the first leg, and he bossed the second.
Going to try and build a
Third
bit of
leg, Mark,
insight
to
here
throw
around
first.
what Mark Hilton's
Game on.
probably feeling or going through. I myself played in a Group B after not playing for a long time, and for me it needed to start well. And it started well, and it continued for me throughout the week. You've played here yourself.
39.
Did you have that same sort of feeling, like it had to start well, or it was like not 4 individual games, it was like a continuum?
60.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I won the first leg in 15 darts, and that's about as good as it got. I was just trying to stay in this nice little comfortable bubble of routine.
45.
And you know what I'm like, Matt. I love routine. But I didn't want to put myself under any pressure for trying to qualify for Saturday night as much as I wanted to.
95.
I just tried to play every leg as it came, remove the pressure, just try and play and enjoy it. And I did enjoy it. I loved playing for 2 days around 12 months ago. But ultimately, I had to win my last match to qualify. I didn't.
23.
But if you put too much pressure on yourself in these early games, that will metastasize into something that you can't manage.
60.
And I think that was the key in what Mark said. He very played it down. He was very okay with it. But he was unexpectant of what would happen when he got on there. So he's not playing on the stage for a while. Which just...
83.
That's the competitor talking. You can just see it eking through that. Yeah, I'm here to have a bit of fun and see how it goes. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm 57
60.
now. But I still want to win.
Dangerous word is but. Or however. But it can be a very useful word.
125.
Basic premise of Group B, if you are tuning in for the first time,
140.
top 3 will qualify from a 5-player group over the next 2 nights. Each player will have 8 games, split over the 2 sessions.
135.
If we have players on the same amount of
Alexander
points,
Bar,
they will be
86.
split up by leg difference and ultimately legs won.
41.
That's a dart missed for
Mark
3-0.
require 51.
Hilton has had 2 darts at double in the first leg. He's going to have 2 more. Same doubles. Same result.
31.
And he really
Alexander
carved that
require
opportunity
45.
out by the big 2 treble visits beforehand. Just showing that there's
Game on the third leg,
a little bit
Alexander
of resistance
Mertz.
in there. But that is a double breaker throw, and Mark Hilton is in big trouble now with
Fourth
going
leg,
down
Alexander to throw
4-0
first.
in his opening
Game on.
match.
Well, when you consider he's had 4 darts at double in 2 different legs,
54.
based on the amount of likelihood that players here will hit doubles, realistically, he'll be thinking right now, I could be 2-1 up.
81.
Even more encouraging sign for Mark Hilton, or the family and friends that he's told us are tuning in. Hello to you. He's had those
60.
darts on his throw. So he's having opportunities to defend his throw before Merckx is even getting the chance to break. That's the type of positivity he needs to find and build on.
100.
Isn't it amazing how certain dart players, when we haven't seen them for a while, are still using the same kit? The same Bob Anderson Unicorn darts.
97.
The same red stems. The same Union Jack Dimplex flights. Some people just don't want to change.
82.
He's even got chalk residue on the stems. So old school. Almost reminds me of my good friend Kenny Brown from Benwill, just outside of Newcastle.
95.
He used to glue his Union Jack Dimplex flights into his stems, and he used them for years. What a great player. This is what we're trying to unearth with the ADC. Like what you said
60.
with Chris Murphy, those local legends, we want to find them. We want to bring them here.
100.
I know he said he's here to have fun, to see if he can still do it. Needs a single 18.
100.
But now he needs Alexander to miss 95.
95.
Otherwise, it will not be the ideal start. A covered ball for 4-0. Oh
Game,
my
shot.
word, what a
And
dart is
that's
that?
Alexander Merckx.
That really was a professional shot from someone who's definitely got their tail up. What a start to Group B for Alexander. That may be the best start he will throw ever on this stage, but that 81-24 average doesn't really tell you the full story about how well he played. However, the 80% on the doubles does, and that is a perfect beginning to his challenge to make another Saturday night. When we come back after the break, we'll have a heavyweight clash between Jelle Klaassen and Andy Bolton.
So Jelle Klaassen back here at the Super Series, having won his week last time out. The former world champion looking to fire his way through to finals night again. The quickfire Dutchman in his opening match of the evening takes on the X Factor, Andy Bolton, who was second in Group A, beating the reigning champion Luke Little not once but twice. So this is a very, very intriguing, entertaining encounter in prospect. The former world champion there of 2006, as you can see, and a man who has won a Challenge Tour title himself, Andy Bolton. And talking you through it, it's Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, Murph. Welcome along to game
First
number
leg
2
yellow
of
to
the evening.
Rovers.
Speaking of
Game
reigning
on.
champions, Luke Littler is very comfortable right now. Probably sitting on his
80.
bed or sofa right now, just thinking, you guys can go through all the pressure right now. I'm waiting for you on Saturday. And the one person who has taken him out, or should we say twice, is this man, Andy Bolton,
100.
who Chris mentioned finished second in Group A, but the reigning champion of the World Grand Prix is out. Chris Dobie's just beaten Michael Van Gerwen.
100.
So is that an omen for Luke this week?
I can actually tell you what Luke Littler's been doing today. I saw it on his socials.
Do tell.
He rolled out of bed at 1:30 in the afternoon.
118.
We'd already played a game in the afternoon
And
by 1:30.
then he went down to the
99.
arcades and played on the slot machines. Sounds like a perfect 16-year-old day.
I've got to remind myself that he's still a kid.
60. You'll require 142.
And a champion. Well,
85.
I find myself rather non-loquacious about this darting setup because I wasn't expecting to see something that was akin to a knitting needle.
Feels like there's more point than barrel.
37.
I shouldn't be
And you
surprised.
require 83.
I've seen Jelle Klaassen throw more darts than Peter Wright. 16 for Bull to nick this first leg. Oh, and he's missed the single. Had a chance to do what
43.
Alexander Merckx
You'll
did in his
require 20.
first game of the night by nicking the first leg.
10.
It also changes the weight distribution of the flight.
And you require 40.
I just wonder. He's honestly left me speechless.
On the first leg,
And
Andy
he's
Bolton.
legless after the first one. This is such an unusual setup. And when you consider that he's got an impeccable record of
Second
making
leg, Andy
Saturdays
to
here,
Rovers.
does
Game
the
on.
question have to be asked? Is he looking for perfection that isn't there?
But this isn't the darts he used a month ago.
Well, you're probably the best person to
140.
ask about this.
Well, we played each other in the final of the Catalonian Open. He made the final on the first day, lost in the
96.
final there, and then he beat me in the final the day after, and this wasn't the equipment he was using. Just looks weird when you see a normal dart like Andy Bolton's,
85.
and then you see this gigantic point.
Look at the size of those.
96.
Honestly, it's as if the barrel has turned into Pinocchio and Pinocchio's lying.
I would love to measure the point and then measure the barrel to see just what size differences there
81.
are.
It reminds me of two things. One, Justin Pipe. Everybody knows that Justin used to use an enormous length point, but with a very different angle of attack.
133.
And my old good friend from Australia called Don Whittington, who used to throw a John Lowe stumpy dart and have a point in like this. But he made them work.
60.
I just wonder if this is something that Jelle can make work here over the next couple of nights.
Well, he must be seeing something in it. When we get to the point where people are playing with the darts at the Super Series, it means they're seeing
82.
something in practice
And you require
to suggest
135.
this is the way to go.
If those points get any bigger, we're going to have to get a wider lens.
Game shot the
How
second leg,
good was
Andy
that?
Bolton.
This week, he has been sneaky good. In fact, he averaged on Wednesday
yellow to Thoreau first.
91.66
Game
for the day. And that wasn't his biggest finish of the week. He's at a 150.
96.
On Wednesday, he did play some of his best stuff. I think the only time he didn't play particularly well was against Luke Littler. But then again, I don't think anybody played particularly well against him the first 3 days, apart from Andy on Monday and Tuesday.
140.
Have we got John Part in disguise here with Andy Bolton? Because that snarl he's putting across his
95.
face today, he's up for this.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Well, today is the 5th of October. And
60.
it's been quite a while
140.
since Jelle Klaassen won his first PDC title. I think you all remember when he won Lakeside in 2006. But it's now 15 years since he won his very first PDC title. It was in Killarney
140.
at the John McAvoy Gold Dart
170.
Classic. 15 years ago.
What a place that is as well.
105.
Kalani used to love
Andy
going
Report
there.
161.
He's won 2 events in that hall. One from the PDC, one from the WDF, and that was only last November. That would have left me speechless.
Yellow Report 65.
That was missed tonight by Michael Van Gerwen for a 9-darter double star.
Game on the third leg.
That's not
Jelle
missed though.
Klaassen.
And maybe that's what he's seen. Maybe the doubling will improve for Jelle
Fourth leg
with
Andy
the
to
larger
Thoreau
points.
first.
This is not a
Game
bad
on.
game at all. 3 legs in. It's worth looking at.
You sort of feel as well for Jelle Klaassen, this is where we're building towards
43.
something, because he's got a big event coming up soon. He's got a chance to go to Lakeside and take that title for a second time.
27.
Almost 18 years apart. Think about that for a second. That's longer than Luke Littler's been alive.
And you've got to fancy him as
59.
one of the favourites for that tournament.
I have to agree. Show me a player that has got the experience of winning that tournament, that is going into that
140.
with form. And then you have to think of Jelle Klaassen.
$97.
He's had a pretty good season. He's won ranking tournaments.
140.
He might even win again before he goes to Lakeside. But the rule came out recently, didn't it? If you're going to Lakeside, it's pointless going to a PDC
126.
European qualifier for Alexandra Palace. Straight up question, Matt. Does he go to Lakeside or does he go to a qualifier?
99.
I think it's a silly question.
I wouldn't be surprised if he went to a qualifier and just thought, I'm going to have a free hit at it, because if I don't, I've still got that. Because he's not going to not be allowed to
100.
play because he played a
Yellow Report
qualifier.
95.
It's only if he wins the qualifier.
55.
But you know my stance. I
And he
think
requires 76.
Lakeside's a very, very gettable goal. I think that'd be better for him to go and try and win that than to be at the Alexandra Palace.
Double top for Andy.
Game
Oh
on
my
the fourth
word, the
leg,
doubling
Andy
is so
Bolton.
good. The average is over 97, but his doubling
Fifth
3
leg
hits
yellow
from
to
4.
Thoreau first. Game on.
It's been remarkable.
86.
Whether you like the long points or not, Klaassen's still averaging in the mid-90s. It doesn't even feel like he's played that well.
One thing we know is he's able to manage these sort of
61.
days, and I think nothing stands out for me more than his biggest points haul in the WDF when last year he won
65.
the Dutch Open. The Dutch Open, one of the hardest tournaments to win. I've been to the event. I hated it. 5,000 people and about 3,000 boards.
100.
The 5,000 people, that's not an exaggeration, the 3,000 was in terms of the boards. But it's very, very busy.
I know that title means a lot to you,
60.
but if you consider his career path, when he went to the PDC in 2007, did he ever think that he'd be playing in the Dutch Open ever again? I don't think so.
140.
I think if anybody is reaping the rewards of things like Super Series, WDF,
44.
associate member qualifiers for European tours, it's Klaassen. And Andy Bolton. He's been to more European tours this year than I could possibly poke a stick at.
100.
Playing the system for all it's worth. That's what these two are doing.
58.
And at the minute, there's nothing wrong with
and you
that.
require 100.
Stay on the 60. That's why.
Game, shot, and the
Doubling
match,
from the
Andy
gods.
Bolton.
Simple as that. We didn't get a 4 from 4 this afternoon in our Group C action. We haven't got one here. But what we have had are 80% checkout percentages from Bolton and from Alexander Merckx. 97.89 gives you his best performance of the week. And he's done it against possibly the favourite for this group. What a great start to the night. When we come back, we've only got one more player to show you for the very first time, and it will be Jordan Brooks of Fleetwood.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where we've seen a couple of dominant displays in the first two matches so far today. Alexander Merckx, a 4-0 winner against Mark Hilton, and now the Sheriff, Jordan Brooks, beginning his campaign. There is Hilton, the man who was beaten on debut, the ADC player. Jelle Klassen went down 4-1 to Andy Bolton in the second match. What will the third bring? We are about to find out, and talking you through it, it's Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar.
Thanks, Murph. I think we're hoping that we get another doubling display like we've just seen from Bolton and from Merckx. 4 hits from 5 seems to be the norm. Yeah, for the person on the right side of the draw. And that's good news for Mark Hilton because that's exactly where he sits. He's had that first game to get settled in. He was done 4-0 by Merckx. But there were some bright sparks in there. But this is the Sheriff. Will he be shot? Or will he be blaming the deputy? Well, it is a battle of the left-eye dominant players here.
First leg, Jordan to throw first.
And what I mean by that is,
Game on.
when you're a dart player, you tend to have one dominant eye. You can see Jordan here brings the dart back to his left eye. And Mark is very conventional
140.
by using his left eye as a left-hander.
Mark Hilton would have left the stage after losing that last game 4-0, thinking I had opportunity. And with that as well, my opponent had to take out some really good finishing
100.
to get the job done 4-0. And then he'd have looked up after 2 darts and saw the first 2 in treble 20 and thought, oh, here we go again.
140.
Fair to say that the last time we saw a Lakeside tournament, Jordan Brooks was in there, and that was a real mission to find out what kind of player he was then. But as for what kind of player he is now, he is a vastly better player 18 months on.
Absolutely, and he's got a big ranking title to his name now as well. He won the Scottish Open this year in February, which is one of the real top tournaments on that WF Tour. Big entry numbers, and you get all the top players travelling for that one.
95. Jordan, you require 41.
I'll tell you what we'll do in the next leg. We'll talk about previous Scottish Open champions.
Nine.
Just misses out, but if you're going to miss like that, do so when your opponent is just outside of a finish. He's on a finish now. And he's inching closer. So be warned,
81.
Jordan.
Jordan, you require 32. Game shot on the first
was
leg,
warned.
Jordan Brooks.
And he hits for a 1-0 lead. Yes, he won the Scottish Open over Martin Atkins from
Second leg,
Wigan.
Mark to throw first.
There's an inside
Game
joke
on.
in darts because there are 2 Martin Atkins, one from Yorkshire, one from Merseyside. He beat the Wigan version by 6 legs to 4. But you've got previous Scottish Open champions dating all the way back to
140.
1983 on my database. And here's something I didn't actually know. The 1983 Scottish Open
58.
was a duel between 2 Australians. Russell Stewart and Terry O'Day. 2 Australian legends. And it was Russell Stewart who won it back then. But you've got winners of the Scottish Open like Chris
22.
Mason, our commentary colleague. He beat Colin Monk back in 1995. The great Peter Johnston. Sadly, he's no longer with us. He beat Peter Manley back in 1998.
39.
Chris Mason actually lost in the final in 1999 to Dennis Ovens. And there have been some Scottish winners of that tournament as well, the likes of Gary
26.
Anderson back in 2007 and former Scotland captain Mike Veach, who won it in 2004, beating Martin Atkins of Leeds.
100.
Mark Hilton started this game off really well. Really good opening leg. Kicked off a 140 in this one, but then 22 and 26 to follow. I think this is what we're going to see throughout the night here from Mark Hilton.
100.
Flashes of the Mark Hilton we remember from our time on the tour. And then these sort of just lapses that will come in, partly due
44.
to changes in age, partly due to the fact that he probably doesn't practice as much now. He mentioned that in his interview at the start of the show that he now has a job
43.
as such, and his life's completely different. This has just become a hobby once again for him.
Well, for a hobby, he's still pretty good at it.
100.
But is he as good as someone
Mark
who has
require
genuine ambition?
170.
His ambition over the next couple of days is to make Saturday. And he has done so before.
95.
It's not the worst approach
Jordan,
in the
you require
world.
160.
Jordan, 160. For 2-0.
So I did say in the last game that when Mark Hilton's got the throw, he's giving himself the
89.
opportunity to hold.
Mark requires
He'll be
75.
expecting at least a dart at the double at the end of this combination. Just needs the single 18. Give him a dart to hold his throw and get his first leg on the
Game
board here
from the
at the
second leg,
Super Series, and that is
Hilton.
much more better and polished there from Mark Hilton. The wait for the first leg on the
Fairleigh
board can
Jordan
often
to
be
throw first.
an edgy
Game
one
on.
the longer it goes. He's broke that pattern.
Yeah, well said. He's going to feel very good right now. He's always been a player who has a presence
58.
on the oche. He's got a very large stride pattern. He tends to retrieve the darts very quickly, and he gets behind the player quite quickly. He's got a very confident walk. I suppose you've got to be really confident
60.
when you're telling everybody where the exits are. When he made the quarterfinals of the UK Open 12 years ago, he even used to grace the stage and do that whole, these are where the exits are on the stage. I thought that was a great thing.
100.
I don't think anybody underestimated him in those days, and he's definitely starting to put something together.
140.
I feel that the first game was a nice settler for him, and this one coming quite quick. That's the benefit as well, what I was talking about of Group
100.
B, where you don't have long to dwell on things. He's just had one game, almost like an extended break, isn't it, before you come back on to play again. He will have a slightly longer gap between this game and before he takes on Jelle
60.
Klassen. He's got to wait 2 matches. But it's not like a Group A or C where sometimes you could be 3 or 4 matches away from coming back on, which is about an hour's wait.
100.
I don't know what it was like for you in Group B when you played in it, but I got that lovely schedule of playing a game, then a break of a game, playing another game, then another game break. It was very
Jordan,
rigid.
you require 143.
It definitely suited my style. It's a really interesting
84.
insight into the
Mark
throw
require
of Jordan Brooks. When he
141.
brings that dart back to his left eye, it almost twists a bit, doesn't it? It's almost like we're looking at 2 players with very unconventional
45.
actions.
Jordan, you require 59.
Great single. Double top.
Game shot the
Very
third
clean
leg,
and
Jordan
crisp
Brooks.
from the Sheriff. Exactly what he wants to do. He's someone who exudes a bit of confidence as well.
Fourth leg mark to throw first. Game on.
There was a big exhale of breath, though, at the end of that. I think that was a little bit of relief there. I think he knows, as this group probably will, that Mark Hilton's not been as consistent or playing as much darts. And they'll all be eyeing him up for the
140.
points. And with that, Mark Hilton is putting him under pressure. He's averaging in the mid-80s, which is a very good standard of darts. That's that 6-visit block that we said you need to be in.
Yeah, I agree. And especially when you consider the improvement from game 1. It's around about 13, 14 points at the minute.
60.
And his proximity to his scoring zones is much better than that first game. So you can tell that he's settled down.
There's a lot of wayward darts, wasn't there? The one that you've got to do is make sure you're not losing that vertical line, keeping the darts straight.
140.
That is the minimum requirement. When you start to lose that, that's because there's something going wrong in the release.
By the way, did you see that stat on Ross Smith from the first round of the World Grand Prix? I had to read it twice. I couldn't believe it.
41.
One dart in the whole match where he missed the line of the 20. One. Talk about straight shooting.
140.
And that's really straight as well. But Matt's right. If you can just focus on that line and get that right, the weight will come.
But this is a big leg from Jordan Brooks. We say he had a sigh of relief.
100.
Well, you can throw his arms up in celebration
86.
here. 3 big power scoring visits in an attempt to try and break the throw here of Mark Hilton. But he won't get a dart. 2 low darts. That's a sign of tension.
No real need to panic there because with Hilton on 160,
28. Mark your require 160.
it's unlikely. It's around about a 3% shot. And that's for pros as well. For someone who has openly admitted that he's not a pro or a semi-pro anymore, it's probably a 1.5% shot.
Jordan, you require 58.
Well, this 58 is under a lot of pressure, and he'd been hoping to be up more than 58, leaving it from 86. 1 dart left.
18.
And it gives Mark Hilton an opportunity to keep hold of
20.
his throw. Keep the pressure on Jordan Brooks here.
Not a bad marker.
Game shot of the fourth
Turned out to
leg,
be ideal.
Mark Hilton.
2-2. He is causing problems for Jordan Brooks.
Fifth leg, Jordan to throw first.
Brooks can feel a bit
Game on.
frustrated with himself there. 3 big power scoring visits, and then from 86, he made a bit of a mess of that one. And Mark Hilton steps in and says,
58.
thank you very much. The warning is there.
I just want to tell you a little bit of a Mark Hilton story, a personal one of mine. He once broke my heart. Many players have.
180.
He's just made his heart pound with his first 180 in his Super Series career. Well done, Mark.
140.
I'm sure there's more coming. We hope it's right now. Just going to hold the phone on that story. Okay, now we can tell it. It was October of 2011. Sounds like Jack and Ori, doesn't it?
125.
I played Mark in the last 16 of a Players' Championship event in Gladbeck. I was playing so well at the time. I thought, I'm going to win this tournament.
139.
Mark, in the last 16, gave me a right hiding. 6-0. I walked away from that game like he had just taken my wallet and spent all my money in front of me. And I made an oath to myself
12.
when that
Jordan,
game was
you require
finished. I said,
164.
the next time I play him, I'm beating him 6-0 back. I had to wait 2 years to play him again, and I beat him 6-0 and I kept my word.
54.
But my word was he hard to beat when he was at the top of his game. He was so awkward because he was so good.
He was so
48.
good at the start of this leg as well.
Jordan, you require
5 trebles out of the
110.
first 6. He's not been able to convert it into a good opportunity at the back end of this one. Jordan Brooks has it in his hands once again.
58. Mark your require 136.
We have seen this week. We're not going to see it here. Now, what does Brooks
29.
choose?
Jordan, you require 52.
He's missed 5 darts at a double in this match. 2 of them at tops in the last leg. So he decides on something different.
Game
That's
shot of
worked
the
out
fifth
pretty
leg,
well.
Jordan Brooks.
When Mark Hilton kicked off 180, 125, 5 out of 6
leg mark
darts in the
to
treble.
throw first.
Jordan
Game on.
Brooks must have been panicking because it was Jordan Brooks with the advantage of throw. And he's back in again at the front end of the leg. He is back in again.
Did you notice, though, at the end of leg
125.
5, how he was shaking his head? That competitor is starting to say hello again.
He'll like what he's seeing. He'll be encouraged by what he's throwing here. He's been running
60.
around the mid-80s for this entire match. That's encouraging signs here for Mark Hilton. He does have a very tricky end to his campaign. He's still got to take on the top 2 in this group, Andy Bolton and Jelle
100.
Klassen. But they're not going to be liking what they're seeing here. They know they've got to be on their game here.
They'll be very aware of this because there is a monitor in the practice room, and those players do watch.
100.
They want to see what's going on. They don't turn a blind eye.
Especially when they won't know too much about Mark Hilton at the moment. They will remember him from the time on the tour, but they don't know
60.
what he's like in 2023.
We're getting a pretty good idea at the minute. Now, Jordan's having to work very hard to get 2 valuable points. He's nowhere near those 2 points at the minute.
60.
He might even need a 7th leg to try and get an opportunity to get it done. And so far tonight, a 7th leg has been something out of reach. We've only had a 4-0 and a 4-1.
Be interesting to see what Mark does in a last leg shootout when he's so close to the winning line. Because he said he's not familiar with being on the stage anymore.
57.
How familiar is he with
Marker
being so
bar
close to
121.
winning on the stage?
He's got to get to leg 7 first. Can he take us there? You
81.
don't see many dart players who are left-handed trying to leave double 8. It's just a thing. Lefties predominantly like double 12, double top, and double 10.
100.
And in that spot, they would usually go for treble 7, but not Mark. But he does leave tops when he had the choice with the other shot
Games
And he
on the
does
6th
get
leg,
us
Mark Hilton.
to leg 7. Good game. Both mid-80s averages. The doubling from Hilton's been
7th
very
and
good.
final leg,
3
Jordan
hits from
to
5.
throw first. Game on.
Improvement from the first game. He had opportunities. We had the warnings there from him. Jordan Brooks is going to have to be on his game if he's going to serve this out. And that is a perfect start. And that asks Mark Hilton the question. He's in a position he's not been in for a long time.
$100.
You would classify that as a bad ton because you got the 60 with the first dart. This is where you got to keep the pressure on.
42.
I wouldn't classify that as keeping the pressure on. This is an invitation for Hilton to get back in the leg.
And he'll still know how to read a game. That's something that he won't lose. So this is where he'll be asking himself. This is where he'll be saying,
41.
hit a ton, do something. And it's when you're asking and looking for something on demand that's where your practice comes in and your consistent match play.
In a weird sort of way, he may be able to read the game better
140.
because he's older, he's more experienced. He might have watched a lot of darts, figured some new stuff out, but now you've got to put it into play. And when you're 181 points behind,
60.
you don't need to be a genius to figure out what you need to get on level terms.
It's this setup play where Jordan Brooks has just required the extra visit.
59.
In this position, that's enough. He's probably got 6 darts from 120. And now that's guaranteed.
92.
And if you offered him 80 points
Your
right
corner,
now,
120.
he'd say, thank you very much. There is something else on offer, though.
80.
That's gone by the wayside. However, he does get 80. And he is coming back for tops. And an opening win to join Bolton and Merckx on 2 points.
60. Jordan, you require 40.
3 hits from 9. That's about to change. But the most important thing is that he has 4. It is from 12 attempts, so he is 1 from every 3. 33% is always very acceptable as long as you get the right amount in the end. But Mark Hilton put up a terrific fight in that game, averaging 82.12, 60% on the doubles. As you can see, he just didn't create enough chances towards the end to give Jordan any more trouble. So that's 1 round of matches for most players, 2 if you're Mark Hilton, and we're about to see an all-Dutch clash between Alexander Merckx and Jelle Klaassen after the break.
Welcome back. Strap yourselves in. This is going to be a fast and furious affair between 2 of the most rapid players in World Darts, Alexander Merckx and Jelle Klaassen, about to go head-to-head, blow for blow, throw for throw, and it won't take long. Guiding you through it, under starters orders, Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar.
Yeah, lights out and
First
away
leg,
we go.
Alexander to throw
Without further
first.
ado, start
Game
your
on.
clocks, everybody. And if you want to join in at home, why don't you ask the people that are sitting around you, how long do you think this
59.
match will go? Matthew Edgar's had his little punt. I'm going to go for 7 minutes and 59 seconds. What about you, Matt?
I'm going to put 8
96.
minutes and 12 seconds. I don't think this one's going to be long, even if it goes plenty of legs.
97.
In fact, Jelle Klaassen is involved in one of the fastest Super Series games in history that went all 7 legs.
58.
This is my face of surprise.
He did actually lose that game 4-3, though.
2.
100.
It's probably Scott Baker.
100.
It was to a current 2-time WF ranking champion.
Oh, was it you? Oh, was it you?
Well, I wouldn't mention
60.
it if it was anything else, would I?
Nice segue. Got you back though, didn't he?
Yeah.
59.
About a month ago now, over in Barcelona, in the final of the Catalonian Open, 5-1 Jelle Klaassen. Made final of both tournaments that weekend as well.
54.
What was the trophy like for the Catalonian Open?
It was a medal.
Oh,
100. Alexander, you require
No trophy.
131.
what's wrong with the world?
The best trophy I've had so far, Iceland, by far.
61. Yellow, you require 88.
It was a rock, wasn't it?
A rock and a dart.
Oh, nice second dart there.
In shot of the first
That's a
leg,
lovely
Jelle
checkout.
Klaassen.
So, 1 minute 39 for the first leg. It's not all about the time, it's about the accuracy.
Second leg, yellow.
They don't
to
get bonus
throw
points for
first.
winning it
Game
quicker.
on.
What is it about Dutch darts where everybody plays really quick?
136.
It's almost like they invented the concept. Do you remember the time when Klaassen won Lakeside?
93.
Went over to the PDC with Van der Voort and Van Gerwen. And all of a sudden there was an injection of pace in the PDC.
57.
Then again, I tend to find that whenever I go over to Holland, they even like drive like that. They don't have a brake, they have an accelerator and a horn.
140.
Have you ever been in a car with Jelle?
No.
He drives like Max Verstappen.
98.
I swear on my goddaughter's life, this is a true story. He picked me up from the airport in Amsterdam once. Wes Newton was there with Barry
125.
Bates. And he said, "Do you guys want a lift? We're off to the tournament in Newland." Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
134.
If Barry Bates had any hair, he would have lost it by pulling it out.
143.
Honestly, it was like a thrill ride. I was used to it by then.
100. Yellow requires 76.
Well, 2-0 Beckons. Haven't even talked about the fact he's changed his darts
On the second leg, yellow
because he's
Klaassen.
2-0 up.
Not really give us time to have a proper look at the darts, has he? They're in the board and they're out before we've had the
Third leg,
chance.
Alexander to
18
throw
and a
first.
15
Game on.
darter there from Jelle Klaassen to wrap it up in 3 minutes, 4 seconds.
This is one of those darts
84.
matches that runs the risk of being like Abraham Simpson walking into a club, taking his hat off, putting it on the
57.
stand, realizing that Bart is actually the bouncer, turning around again, picking up the hat, and then leaving.
45.
Now one of the most famous gifts.
Indeed it is.
43.
The main change of the darts, though, well, it's the points, isn't it? I'm sure it's a very different
60.
feeling dart now, or balanced dart, because the point is a lot smaller. But even with these ones,
93.
it's not exactly the smallest point I've ever seen.
I think sometimes when you throw with a longer point as well, it can make you feel like you're throwing a bit
60.
softer.
$78.
Started on the 18s because he wanted 138 or more to leave a finish. He has hit Alexander where it hurts so far in this
58.
fourth game of the night. It's Klassen who's looking for the rebound because he lost 4-1 in
125.
his first game, whereas Alexander won 4-0. And I think they both have ambitions of making Saturday
89. Yellow
because they
require
both have perfect
105.
records of making Saturday in previous qualifying campaigns. Double top.
85.
Does he go the
Alexander
same
require
route?
105.
No. Same result pretty much though.
35. Yellow require 20.
Double 10 to stop Merckx from getting a shot at double
Game
in the first three legs.
Yellow Klassen.
That is quite the statement from the former world champ.
Fourth leg yellow to throw first.
I mentioned that it was 15 years since he won his very first PDC title,
134.
and he was going for that remarkable second Lakeside
100.
later this year. But I gave you a stat just before this game started, didn't I? The distance between
99.
his first BDO WDF title to his second.
100.
16 years between them.
101.
16 years. In the 2006 Lakeside
96.
and the next one,
Yellow require
the Dutch Open in
167.
2022.
57.
The way this is going, we might have both overestimated the time. Just 6 minutes 20 so far, and Yellow Klassen will be coming back for a match-winning
60.
shot here at the
Yellow require
110.
110.
Double 16.
78.
And he moved the
Alexander require
wire.
145.
That could have been under 6 minutes 40.
105. Yellow
Lovely
require
leave.
32.
He might not get a dot at a double in the whole match. And he
Game,
doesn't.
shot, and the match.
So
Yellow
if you were
Klassen.
playing along at home and you were seeing how long that game was going to take, it's actually one of the quickest that we've seen this year. 6 minutes, 51 seconds from the Cobra, and he gets it done with an 85.89 average, 4 hits from 9, very acceptable, and a perfect response after losing to Andy Bolton in his first game by 4 legs to 1. To take us to the halfway point, it will be the Sheriff, Jordan Brooks, up against X Factor, Andy Bolton.
Welcome back. 4 fixtures played here on Thursday night at the Super Series and 4 different winners, but 2 of them are about to play each other, so one unbeaten start will remain intact as that man, Andy Bolton, the X Factor, one of the top performers here this year at the Super Series. He takes on Jordan Brooks, who was a finals night player last time he played on this stage. They're battling to get there again, and talking through the action is Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
Thank you once again. We've just been doing our numbers and we realised that the last time Jordan was on the stage playing Mark Hilton in 7 legs, that game took 12 more minutes than the previous game we've just seen from Jelle Klaassen. So, if you fancy a bit of a chuckle, Klaassen beat Merckx in 1/3 of the time that it took Jordan Brooks to beat Mark Hilton. Darts is a fickle old sport sometimes. You might even want to play along again, see how long this one takes. But the way that Andy's been playing, well, the last few games over Group A and the start tonight, he's going to be pretty hard to beat, isn't he?
I think if you was going to play along with the times of this, I think we're going to be closer to the 20-minute mark, because I think this one could, again, be a game that sort of goes the distance. Andy Bolton really set down a marker. He is the bookie's favourite to win this group, odds on. And I questioned that at the start of the night, and, well, put me straight back in my box.
180.
Very quiet out there tonight. Thursday evening will soon turn into Friday morning. But it won't be this quiet on Saturday night, especially when Luke Littler is in the Saturday night final. Just think about the possibility of the Saturday night final this week. Just think about it for a second. We could have Littler, Bolton, Klaassen, possibly Brooks. And then from Group C, well, Białecki looks like he's going to make it.
78.
Could be one of 3 people, could be Big H. If you want to be here on Saturday night, please don't hesitate to scan this code. It will take you to dartshop.tv, where for a very small booking fee of £2, you can reserve your ticket. If you want to turn up here to London Road in Portsmouth for a very intimate darts experience, where you could be as little as 12 feet away from the players.
This is what Andy Bolton wanted as well. He wanted a Group B campaign. He played down his chances in Group A. Said he's changed a few things with his throw and wanted a bit more time to let it come through before finals night.
40. And you require 32.
The last time he was here, he did make Champions Week. Beat Białecki in a last leg decider on the Saturday night. He will definitely want to be back for his 2nd consecutive Champions Week at the end of October.
Second leg Jordan to throw.
In fact, the last time
game on,
he won a week here, he was off on a cruise soon after. But before Champions Week, here in late October,
100.
there is something else for Andy to shoot for, and that is the end of the Challenge Tour for 2023. He currently sits in 6th position on £5,825. He's chasing Christian Kist in 2nd position, and he's roughly £1,300 behind.
80.
If he was to get 2nd position in that table behind Barry Van Peer, he would get 2 things. He'd get a tour card for 2 years, and he'd get a spot in the World Championship at Alexandra Palace. That is definitely something that he wants to do.
Let's not forget, though, Christian Kist at the moment is likely to get his spot through the Pro Tour Order of Merit, so he doesn't even have to overtake Christian Kist. 3rd place would be enough for Andy Bolton. And Andy Bolton is only £1,000 behind on the Pro Tour Order of Merit, so he's essentially got 2 opportunities to get into the World Championship So by not having a tour card this year,
59.
he's played himself into a position where he's got a better chance of being at the Alexandra Palace.
And he's got experience of playing on that stage. Do you remember that game he played against Stephen Bunting? That went to the very last leg. It was during the 2021 World Championship. It was a remarkable championship.
46.
And that was just one of 16 games that went to the very last leg decider because of the rules that we had to play in, because we had curfews. We had no tiebreakers. The last set was 3-2 or 3-1 or 3-0. There was no winning by 2 clear legs. And he lost to Stephen Bunting in the very last leg. It was one of many unforgettable
57.
games. I know we'd love to go back. Just think, if he's on one side of the draw
101.
and the Pro Tour players are on the other side of the draw for round 1,
118.
you draw Andy Bolton, you think, oh, that could have been a lot easier than that.
Although I do think the days of the
94.
international
And you require
qualifier field being
140.
weak, I think are gone. Before you used to think, I want to avoid 3 players. Now you're probably thinking, I only want to draw 3 or 4 players. It's starting to flip the other way
60.
round.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Jordan, you require 24.
Qualifiers for the Asian Championship are starting this week over in Japan. Which means we're all thinking about World Championship darts over Christmas
Game
already.
goes
Yes, I
against
just said
Jordan
the C word.
Brooks.
It's 1-1 here. The Sheriff is thinking about a very different World
Third leg
Championship,
Andy
isn't
to
he?
throw first. Game
You'll
on.
be thinking about Lakeside, the WDF World Championship happening just before Alexandra Palace. Sort of like the starter before the main course.
58.
We don't really have the dessert anymore of the Masters, though, do we? That's moved into February now.
I think the dessert's probably Q School now, is it?
94.
Sometimes 2 courses is enough.
$82.
A slight pause in the game here. So Danny McNamara has decided to pause play. I think we're okay. Sometimes we can get a little glitch in the system. It seems like everything is fine. So let's get back to the game.
$45.
You don't get that with a pen and paper, do you? The old chalkboard.
Do you know what? That brings up a really good point, actually. Because a lot of people have asked me in the past, why do they still have human markers on the PDC stage?
97.
A progressive promotional company like the PDC have decided to stick with tradition that they've had since 1994.
57.
That they want the flanked markers and the referee on the stage. Do you think that's a good thing?
You can't go wrong with it, can you? That's the thing for the player's point
100.
of view. You can see everything. I like it. I do. And I think the second you start changing it, you're just opening yourself to new things potentially going wrong. I always thought I wanted a bit of a nice
94.
premium car.
And you require
And now I've got it. I hate it
164.
because it's always telling me things. Leave me alone. Let me drive me car.
Just turn the settings off.
82.
I like looking at the old footage of the referees and the markers in the early days at the Circus Tavern, where you had
60.
some
And
of
you
the top
require
brass
82.
in officiating on the stage back then, and they all had moustaches. Every single one of them. Double top for Andy Bolton here.
Game shot in the third leg.
My
Andy
word, he's
Bolton.
finishing well tonight. Doesn't need a knife and fork because he's finishing his dinner with his hands.
Fourth leg
4 out
Jordan
of 5
to
in his
throw
first
first.
game. Here he's 2 from
Game
3. Word to the wise, Jordan. Don't give him a shot at a double. especially with 2 or 3 darts.
56.
Kind of been the vibe of the night. I wonder if they all just stood around throwing at doubles all night, because Alexander Merckx was 4 from 5 in his opening game. Hilton 3 from 5. Klassen 4
60.
from 9. Really good stats tonight on the doubles.
Yeah, it must be a thirsty bunch. Somebody's obviously come into the practice room and said, does anybody want a drink? And everybody just puts their hand up and says, I'll have a double.
57.
This is what we've seen on the right-hand side of our stat sheet tonight. Bearing in mind that one of these people have lost. 4 from 5 for Merckx, 4 from 5 for Bolton, 3 from 5 for Hilton, and 4 from 9
98.
from Jelle Klaassen. Doubling stats earlier in the week were very impressive on Tuesday from Group A.
100.
The rest of the week,
80.
a little bit under par. Tonight, very, very useful. Is there anything that the man with the juicy wiggle can't deflect? Every now and again, as a commentator, you say something that you didn't think you were ever going to say.
140.
Yeah, I was there this afternoon, to be fair. That's a nice dart, that, for Andy Bolton. Unable
60.
to use that one. That's kind of
Rolling
where he
your
wants it to be, just on that top wire.
You surprised he didn't use the 25 at the end to leave the 2-darter?
I think because of the lie of the first one, it was too inviting for him.
36.
Well, he's got a chance of 3-1.
And you require 103.
And predominantly, he has been brilliant at tops here tonight. But the rest of the week, it's been all about double 16. This is about double 12.
79. Jordan, you require 32.
You don't need me to tell you what he thought of that one. Double 16 for JB. That's close.
Game shot on the fourth leg.
Oh, some
Jordan.
fire from JB as well. He is a feisty character. I just wonder how Andy's going to take that.
Fifth leg Andy to throw first. Game
If
on.
you had a speech bubble coming from Andy Bolton's mouth right now, it would say exactly this. Ah, so it's going to be like that, is it?
58.
I like it.
So do I.
I like a bit of that in a game. I like a little bit of fist bumping. And after the game,
100.
shake hands and it's all forgotten.
Yeah, good luck with that, Matt. You got some ego up on that stage here tonight. And again, there's nothing wrong with that either.
93.
Do you know what? Sometimes pride has been a bit of a dirty word. There's nothing wrong with pride and passion. This is the shortest group of the week. You only get 4 games over 2 nights.
41.
So if you don't perform on night 1, you've got a lot to do on night 2 with your 4 games then. Flip things around and you can see what happened,
59.
because last week when Jared Cole won 4 games out of 4 and then none on the Friday, he was biting his fingernails at the end of the night just to make Saturday. Every game is vital,
58.
especially when you've got a group like this. I think if you were looking at the stats only
100.
and then compare them to the scoreline, you'd have to say that Jordan is clinging on, because he's not averaging well, but he is very much in the game.
138.
Whether you're averaging well or not, that's a great shot.
81. Jordan, you require
Who would you rather be?
164.
I think I'd rather be on the 164 in this situation. I would now, anyway.
If he'd hit that 164, it might have been more than a fist pump.
Especially because this is on the Andy Bolton throw.
He's got 92, and he wants to go over the 60, obviously.
92.
Probably didn't like the
And you require
look at that dart
110.
just blocking the bottom of the bed. If Andy hits this, you might get a reaction. Let's find out.
94. Jordan, you require 72.
This is a classic case, this game, of what happens next.
Game shot on the fifth leg.
More
Jordan
gumption
Brooks.
from Jordan Brooks. This is a really interesting performance. At no point has he
Looks like
had the
Jordan
better
to
average of the
throw
two,
first.
but now he's in front purely because he's had more darts at double.
Well, you said there might be a reaction.
58.
Earlier in the week, we were talking about how Luke Littler would respond after losing
100.
to Andy Bolton. His performances were incredible after losing a match. If Andy loses this,
139.
his next game is against Alexander Mertz. And I'm not sure that Andy losing this game
60.
is good for Alexander, especially when he's just lost 4-0 to Jelle Klaassen.
It's all Merckx knows tonight, isn't he? Because he won his first game against Mark Hilton 4-0. And then he lost 4-0.
190.
He said this game might be closer to 20 minutes. You weren't kidding.
60.
There might not be
Jordan, you
much
require
left of this game.
124.
Okay, so 40 off leaves 84, and the 60 is not an option.
88.
Clever. That was an option, but it was pretty much closed.
96. Jordan, you require 36.
Double 18 for a very valuable 2 points.
No score.
None of those were close. But he knows he's coming back. Bolton probably thought that the game was going to be up even
60.
before he threw those.
Jordan, you require 36.
He'll probably think the same right now.
Game.
He was
shot,
right.
And the match, Jordan Brooks.
That is a good performance. I know he averaged just under 80, but he took his chances when they came. And the Sheriff is the first person to 4 points in this table. I bet you didn't expect that to come. You probably thought that it would be Bolton or Mertz or Klaassen at the top. But it is Jordan Brooks, after everybody's played 2 matches, who is at the top of the table on 4 points and the best leg difference as well. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll start the second half of play.
Hi there, welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Matthew Eggers joined me for a little chat about what we've seen so far. So let's show you what we've seen so far. Here are the results. And Jordan Brooks, as Paul said at the end of that commentary of his last match, maybe a surprise winner of both of his games, the only unbeaten player.
He was someone we didn't really speak about a lot at the start of the show, and the odds had him as one of the rank outsiders for this one, but he's got quality. We've seen him at the WDF World Championship. We've seen him picking up titles on the WDF Tour, the Scottish Open in February this year. That is a big tournament with high numbers and high quality. So maybe we've overlooked him a little bit, but we won't from now.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll overlook anybody from now because every player has shown a little bit of something tonight. Alexander Merckx got it underway with a 4-0 win against Mark Hilton. First of all, what about this bullseye to win it?
Alexander Merckx finishing in this game in general was fantastic, and I didn't think he could see much of that. I don't think Mark Hilton thought he could see much of it, and it was sort of like welcome to the Super Series, welcome back to the stage sort of darts, where you don't get a second chance, you don't get another opportunity. And he really picked up off the back of that, Mark Hilton. After going down 4-0 in the way that he did, I thought this could be a long night for him, and then he put in a really good performance against Jordan Brooks, taking it all the way to the deciding leg.
Yeah, two players that we did talk about a fair bit at the start of the night, Andy Bolton and Jelle Klaassen. And here's what happened in their game earlier this evening. And Bolton got a very convincing win.
He did, and for me, this fixture was the one that I thought would decide the group. I thought whoever gets the better in that fixture is going to win the group. If it's 1-1, it's going to be quite a tricky sort of thing to work out. Maybe it'll go to legs. But now Jordan Brooks has sort of upset that apple cart by beating one of these top two players as well. So this group has just become wide open now.
Yeah, and talk about bouncing back. Jelle Klaassen did that, didn't he, with a 4-0 win in his very next game.
Yeah, and he's changed of darts as well, or points. Those first points, myself and Paul Nicholson was having a chat during the game and was just surprised at how long they was. It was nearly as big as the barrel. And it almost looked like he's gone a bit too extreme with that. The last set, much more conventional and much more control.
Yeah, and Jordan Brooks winning that last game before the break there. That means he is top of the table in the early stages. I say early stages, we're a quarter of the way through this group. But having seen everybody play and the results so far, do you think it's still all to play for everybody?
I think it is, and it's a really enjoyable group. When you say at this early stage, I think it's because you don't realise how much darts have been played, because it's been a really good night. And I'm really enjoying watching this group, not just because of the darts they're playing, but the pace it's played at as well. It's been a really entertaining night, and I think we've got a few twists and turns to go.
Yeah, we will get back on to tonight in a moment, but what we're going to do now is reveal the lineup for next week. So here are the groups for next week. Some familiar names. I'm just looking to the right-hand side of the screen there. Groups B and C in particular, pretty strong. Tommy Morris, a player who's made a big impact here. Cam Crabtree has been all the way to a final before. We've also got Rennie Idams in Group A, a former weekly winner. Just early look at that, Matt. Who are you expecting to be amongst the contenders to make it through to Champions Week?
Well, there's two things that stand out for me. First of all, Group A, we've got a lot of new faces and new names, which is great, and international players coming over as well. Who could be unearthed out of those? We'll find out next week. But for me, Cam Crabtree at the moment is one of the hottest young talents in darts, and I think this is a week that he could potentially win.
Yeah, and with some of those names, probably glad not to be in the comms box next week, aren't you? Because that is an autocorrect nightmare on that screen there, isn't it?
I'm not very good at name pronunciation. I used to get the children to do my registers at school for me. I was terrible with it. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be missing that one.
Well, you don't want to miss this one, so I'll let you get back downstairs. It is a meeting between Jelle Klaassen and Mark Hilton, and Paul Nicholson is on standby to talk you through it.
I love that, Chris Murphy. The autocorrect nightmare. I think when Chris Mason makes his way back to Portsmouth for Monday morning, I'll have to tell him that. The autocorrect nightmare that is week 10. However, let's get back to week 9. This is Group B, and this is the second half. Is this a night of two halves?
Game on.
These two know a fair bit about each other. They were on the PDC tour together when Mark was gunning with the best around 10, 11 years ago. They've gone in different directions over the last few years. But now they clash again. And
140.
third match, third different set of darts. Peter Wright, he's trying to outdo you. But he'll never outdo Kevin Painter, isn't that right, Matt? Because
31.
I don't think I'll ever see a guy throw with 3 different flights.
Now, he does that quite often in practice. When it's not going quite well, he will
93.
get 3 different darts and throw them. I never thought I'd see him transfer that into a competitive game.
Well, I hope Yellow Klassen likes chalk. It's positively spitting at the board.
44.
I don't mind talking about this now. It's been a few months. But when I commentated at the World Seniors event, when it was Keith Deller playing
58.
in his first round match, I brought up a subject that I thought was pretty appropriate at the time. Because Keith likes a lot of chalk on his darts. And around about that weekend,
41.
they brought in the news of the new rule for points in 2024. Because they were talking about the integrity of the
84.
playing surface. So there are going to be new points rules for 2024. And I said, well, it's interesting that that comes in now because we have people who use substances like chalk
43.
that can
Yellow
also
126.
interfere with the integrity of the playing surface. So does that mean that chalk should be banned too?
94.
What's your take on that?
I think it's got an argument for and against. I think the people that use it will say that their chalk doesn't damage the playing surface. It just, you can wipe it.
96.
That would be potentially
Yellow
their
bar
counter
32.
argument, where the aggressive points are damaging the boards.
No score.
I see your point.
Marker
But my
106.
Counter to that, and I'm not against what you just said, but there are players that do not like chalk anywhere near them. The tiniest little bit
Game
that
show
they
the
find
first
on their
leg,
hands,
Mark
they will not be
Hilton.
pleased. And I'll tell you what Mark is. Very pleased. That's a 106
Second leg
checkout
yellow to throw
to
first.
take the first
Game on.
leg.
And that was off the back of 3 missed darts there from Yellow Klassen. Yellow Klassen was nodding in the background
100.
because he will remember how good Mark Hilton is.
Look at that. It's like a pyrotechnic when it hits the board.
140.
It should come with its own sound effect.
We have seen that before. Remember Peter Wright with the
134.
very thin points when he was playing?
Oh, the old Bedoing darts. There you can see.
140.
Yellow Klassen is always very eager to start a visit. But against certain players, he has to rein himself back a little bit.
85.
He will still fancy his chances of making Saturday night from this okay start. Lost to Andy Bolton. But a perfect riposte in beating Alexander Mertz in 6 minutes and 51 seconds in game number 4. His remaining games are this one
100.
and Jordan Brooks in game 8. He will be the first player to finish his
96.
campaign for the night.
Marker require 121.
Which means he gets the first chance to go to bed, which I know he'll like. He is a bit of an Olympian sleeper. Not again.
86.
Not this time.
Yellow require 86.
That was for a 12 dart breaker throw. Klassen's pulled that low. He may have to rely on the return of the favour that he
32.
dished out to Mark Hilton.
Marker require
That is
35.
missed darts at the double.
Double 16. The 2-0.
Game shot
He
the
has
second
got
leg,
Yellow
Mark
Klassen
Hilton.
in trouble.
Third leg mark to throw first. Game on.
Rookie mistake there. Just forgetting about the fact that he's got to wait a few seconds before we start the next leg.
But again, when we
100.
talk about positions he's not been in before for a long time, this is now a position where he's got the breaker throw, he's got a 2-0
42.
lead. Now he's going to become favourite to win this match.
They have met before. on 6 occasions. 5 times in
60.
Players' Championships in the PDC between 2010 and 2014, and once on the European Tour. That was the European
57.
Darts Open in 2012. A tournament that was won by a certain Raymond van Barneveld, his sole European Tour victory. That seems like a long time ago. But they met in the first
81.
round of that tournament and Klassen won by 6 legs to 1. They've only ever had 1 close game. And that was the last time they met. 6 legs to 5, 2014. And Hilton won it 6-5, his only win against Yella in his career. That may be changing.
81.
Well, that was for an 18, I assure you.
$98.
Strength for Mark Hilton at the moment is this first dart. Keeps finding that plum in the treble 20.
Aha. I understand what he's doing here. He wants to leave double 4.
133.
He's put a very big hole in that
170.
score. Take this 46.
Marker
And it's a
required
scoreline
46.
I didn't forecast at all. Go for the marker.
Game shot
Didn't
the third
need it.
leg, Mark Hilton.
3-0 Hilton. Well, tonight is proving to be
Fourth leg yellow
a
to
bit of a
Throfers.
prediction
Game
nightmare. You talk about week 10 being an auto-correction nightmare.
83.
Trying to predict these results tonight. Honestly, no. Very, very difficult. What did Klassen do in that visit? Why was he looking back?
42.
Thinking, and this is pure speculation, because to me it didn't look like Mark was even moving.
46.
I'm thinking potentially where he's chalking his darts. Maybe it's just making a little bit of a sound. It's very quiet in that room.
So where do you think he's chalking the darts? He's obviously got a piece of chalk in the pocket.
I think he's got it in his hand.
79.
Well, this is a very quiet room. You'll hear a few echoey
96.
noises. You've got to make peace with that. It will not be this quiet on Saturday night. And Yella's got this knack as well of just getting through the group
135.
by not playing his best, but saving his best for semi-finals and finals. He's done it more than once because he has won on a Saturday more than once.
43.
And even though he didn't get the ideal start tonight, losing 4-1 to Andy Bolton, he did respond well. But this is a jolt in the other direction.
99.
Klassen's in trouble here.
I can see the play. 2 single 19s for a 25 to leave a finish, but he can't get the 2 single 19s. But he does leave a finish with the last dot, 57. He saw the chalk in the hand.
$27. Yellow require 136.
All he can do is set it up.
58.
And Hilton again, just like his previous match,
Mark require
is currently
119.
60% on doubles. 62 left for a 4-0 win. Double 13.
93.
What a chance.
Yellow requires 78.
It's now survival mode for Yella.
38.
Clips the wrong side of the wire.
Mark require 26.
13 is unlucky for some. is unlucky for Mark, who has the next door neighbour for the 4-0 victory.
18.
Match
Yellow
chances
require
missed.
40.
Double 10.
Game shot on the
The
fourth
game
leg,
continues.
Yellow Klassen.
Obviously some communication between the referee and Mark about how he is leaving
Fifth
the
leg
hockey.
mark to throw first.
Do you want to explain to everybody, Matt, what the etiquette is about leaving the board after retrieval?
Well, once you're throwing your darts, you need to retrieve your darts at the quickest possibility and then
81.
exit to the side, exit in the exclusion zone at the earliest possibility.
And obviously the etiquette is to not
180.
jump off the hockey, or indeed to create any sort of bounce on the stage. There's been many a chatter between players in the past where they think they've been hopping. I'm not saying that that's what Mark has done.
I think that could
82.
even potentially be a distraction for Mark, because he probably, even if he has it, he probably didn't even realise, because he's just getting involved in the game. He's
58.
just enjoying the match, and when you do get into your stride, you pick up the pace, and he probably wouldn't have liked being accused of something.
Well, if you think about how Mark walks, he's very boisterous. He's a bit bouncy.
140.
And he tends to almost skip. As you can see right there, he jumps off the hockey. And that's what Yeller is taking exception to. But I promise you, this is something he has always
96.
done. You see how Yeller leaves the hockey there? It's almost very fluid. If you ever get the chance to play Dirk van Dijvenbode, honestly, it's like
81.
playing a
Yellow
kangaroo.
require 167.
All he ever does is bounce around and you just make peace with it.
59.
Well, he
Michael
opened with a
Boyle,
maximum here, Yellow Class, and he
117.
thought this could be the start of a comeback. But he's not capitalised on that big hit.
Don't call it a comeback. He's been here for years. The words of LL Cool J.
97. Yellow require
More
108.
in the way of chances. Does the game continue? We'll have to find out
56.
at the hands of Hilton
Mark, you require 20.
for his first win. To throw this group into chaos.
Game shot.
That's
and a
now
match.
4
Merkelton.
players on 2 points and 1 player on 4. Take your pick. That's what I say. There might be a little bit of a debate as to what's going on about leaving the hockey, but let us talk about the fact that this table is giving us 3 players from a possible 5 still, and we've got 6 games in the bank. Hilton with his first win in Super Series action against the former world champion. Let the debate continue. We'll come back to that when we've got our next game, which is Andy Bolton and Alexander Mertz.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where that maiden victory for Mark Hilton over Jelle Klassen before the break means that we still have a situation where all of the players in this group are separated by just 2 points, and that won't change here. What will change is one of this duo will join Jordan Brooks at the top of the table on 4. It's Andy Bolton against Alexander Merckx for the 4th time this week. 2-1 in Bolton's favour, the head-to-head so far. And we better get this game on. Let's hop to it with Paul Nicholson and Matthew Edgar.
Pun intended, Murph. Pun intended. Pun intended with Murph.
First leg, Alexander to throw first. Game on.
He makes more puns than Tommy Cooper. Well, maybe this game will be a bit more placid than the last one, because we had a little bit of
46.
controversy, didn't we? It might not be the last controversy of the night. This has been a thriller minute, this group, hasn't it, Matt?
Well, the last 2 games have just had a
140.
little bit of spice. Andy Bolton and Jordan Brooks was just bubbling under the surface as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit. And you've got
60.
Jordan Brooks against Jelle Klassen next. Don't miss that. Anything can happen Thursday. If you watch The Big Bang Theory, you know anything can happen on Thursday.
190.
I get the feeling, you use that word spite.
100.
I think Andy's going to take it out on Alexander here. He was not pleased in losing that game to Jordan in Game 5.
61.
Especially considering how well he played in his first game tonight, which is the best performance of the night.
97. And you require 120.
The other thing that's happened with that last result there from Mark Hilton is he's just opened this group completely up.
100.
Well, that wasn't far away. He'll be back for double 10, but you're absolutely right. This is a proper can of worms group now.
58. And you require
Alexander
20.
Merckx, who has won 4-0 and lost 4-0 tonight,
Game on the first leg,
is now
Andy
1-0
Bolton.
down, but sits in the middle of the table, and there's stuff happening all around him.
Second leg, Andy to throw first. Game on.
Sometimes in a Group B, we get a player that gets stuck at the bottom of the table and gets detached and almost makes it a 4-player group.
44.
That doesn't have the vibe of it in this one. This is one that's going to be coming down to the last couple of games when we're still talking about
91.
who the top 3 are going to be.
We'll get your thoughts on the whole leaving the
85.
Oki controversy when the time comes at the end of the show. But at the minute, we've got 2 players who have
100.
a bit of history this week, like Murph mentioned. They've played 3 times already. 3 different results. Alexander got the first rubber on Monday. 4 legs to 1.
134.
But since then, Andy's had the measure, especially yesterday, winning by 4 legs to 0.
95.
In this Group B table, we've got 2 points between all players.
140.
Leg difference-wise, 5 legs, which in this group situation is nothing.
60. And you require 98.
Treble 18 will leave double 12.
58.
When is Alexander going to win his next
155.
leg? Might be now. Is now.
Game on the second leg,
Just like that.
Alexander
Here,
Merckx.
presto. That's the first leg he's won since around about
Third leg, Alexander to throw
20
first.
past 10.
Game on.
He's waited an hour and 45 minutes.
140.
This night is just crazy. Well, it's technically the morning, actually. But wherever you're tuning in from, please get in touch with us at
59.
MSS Starts. We'd love to hear from you. It's been a great day of darts here in Portsmouth. And it's also been a
57.
great night of darts in Leicester at the World Grand Prix. Congratulations to the likes of Chris Dobie beating Michael van Gerwen. Joe Cullen has beaten Ross Smith. And the quarterfinals will take place
140.
later tonight.
$100.
Do like the Grand Prix. Different format with that double start, just shakes it up a little bit. Wonder if we could have a double start week at the
138.
Super Series.
$44.
Maybe.
And you require 164.
Can't give too much away. I would welcome it because I love double start darts.
96. Alexander, you require 160.
But it would be double finish as well. There are many different formats that you can play.
60.
You've got this thing called
And you
Master
require
Out as well,
68.
where you can finish on trebles. That would throw the cat amongst the pigeons. Double 16 for Andy.
36. Alexander, you require 100.
So if this was Master Out, you just go double top, treble 20.
52.
Now, whether you like it or not,
And you require
that was
32.
probably the right play because he had a big blue flight in the way of tops. And he
In
didn't have a
from the
marker
third
for the
leg,
60.
Andy Bolton.
So 2-1 Bolton, a very fair reflection of what we've seen so far. That's why, again, he's averaging
Fourth
high
leg, Andy
90s
to
like he
throw
was
first.
against
Game on.
Dutchman Yellow Klassen in game 2.
I often find, though, if you take a traditional 501 steel tip dart player and put them in something like a Master Out format, they wouldn't know
83.
how to do the combinations properly.
That's true. It's like traditional 501 steel tip
60.
dart players playing cricket. The intricacies of the cricket game on a dartboard like this are very well known to people from different parts of the world, but a tactician will always beat a good dart player.
140.
Remember the Quadro board as well?
Oh, yeah. Have you got one in your collection?
I haven't, no, but could you imagine trying to work the maths
58.
out on that?
The referees who did the calculations on those boards deserve medals. We hear 180 calls from our referees here at the MODUS Super Series. What about a
96.
call of 240? Andy, you require
59.
210. The biggest checkout. 2 quads on the 20s and a bull. Sounds strange, doesn't it? So by that token, on a quad board, you could finish 182. 2 quads and double 11.
I can see why it didn't take on,
99.
to be honest.
And you require 42.
I admire the PDC for trying it. That is a 3-1 lead for Bolton. He's taking all of his angst after losing that 5th game of the night out on Alexander Merckx. And
Fifth
this
leg,
is turning
Alexander
into the
to
best
throw
performance
first.
of the evening.
Game on.
It's been an even split so far,
60.
pretty much, of games won with the darts and against. 4 against, 2 with. But this might tip the scale towards against.
59.
We did see a fair bit of that this afternoon as well. Now, just taking a small diversion onto our social media accounts, we have had a tweet from, or
140.
should I say, a post on X. Jock Smith has got in touch and said, just like to say a big thank you to Matthew Edgar for being an absolute gentleman last week in Blackpool, for giving my son the time of day to talk about darts while he was there for a
95.
break. So, hat tipped to Mr. Edgar.
Yeah, he's just blown my cover. We was there
59.
recording for something that's going to be coming out in January.
It's nothing like a little bit of a spoiler.
But yeah, there's going to be some interesting content coming out in
140.
January from Blackpool.
Interesting. We will stay tuned.
59.
And not on any of the current formats.
If you're intending to drip feed this for the next few months, you're not doing a very good job. You're
41.
giving a lot away in a short space of time. Unfortunately, Andy has shown his hand there. Bogey number time.
137.
And unfortunately, he can't turn it into a Patrick van den Bogaert, a boogie number. How many times does that happen? You got 166 and you hit 2 triple 20s.
46.
Well, that's 28.
28.
That is not double 9. He did not do
Andy
that on
Rohorn,
purpose,
32.
I promise you that. But Andy will try to do this on purpose. Wasn't quite comfortable. Ultimately, the right thing to do. Mini wiggle. But no
16.
win.
Alexander
Usually when he
Rohorn,
pulls off that
18.
little wiggle, he does hit the double.
Game shot on the fifth leg.
Alexander's got a
Alexander
really good
Mertz.
sighter on double 8 this week. I'm not surprised he split that double 9. Spares his
Fifth leg,
blushes
Andy
after
to
that miss
Throw
on the
first.
single 14.
Game on.
But he had to dodge match darts from Andy.
$99.
You know how certain players show signs of, will I get another shot for the match?
100.
Andy doesn't do that, does he? He almost relaxes a bit more. I don't think he plays with the same evident
80.
intensity that he used to in his earlier days. I think he's learned to play with a bit more of a relaxed mindset. And as a result, he's playing some of the best darts of his career at the minute.
190.
But he might have a scrap in his hands. Second 180 of the contest and Alexander's first.
49.
The only victory that Alexander's got against Andy this week was a
100.
4-1 victory on Monday. One thing that has happened since that victory is his countryman,
60.
Willem Mandigers, has gone on this crazy losing streak.
121.
He's not won a game all the way since then.
45.
3 consecutive days without a win, but we all hope that Willem gets one tomorrow. We don't want him to leave under that streak.
85. Alexander
see what he
Rohorn,
thought of that third
76.
dot. Double 16.
60.
Oh, he's left
Andy
double
Rohorn,
8. That's the bright
128.
side of that.
This is one of those awkward shots where even if you get the treble, you don't really feel the benefit of it with the first dart because you still need to find
92.
another treble.
Alexander requires 16.
He does get one eventually.
Game shot on
But
the
double
sixth
8
leg.
to the rescue for
Mertz.
Alexander once again. In a group as tight as this,
Seventh and final leg. Alexander
4-3
to
victories
Throw first. Game
just
on.
make it even tighter.
44.
Before this match began, Bolton 2 points, plus 1 leg difference. Mertz 2 points, all square leg difference. There was 1 leg between them. So not much is going to change no matter what happens here.
96.
Even the person who goes to 4 points is only going to be 1 win in front of the other.
140.
Group Bs do not get tighter than this. There
99.
was an argument for the ball in that last start. I've seen a lot of players recently trying to trim that 5 off the end.
140.
But because of that 140 and the fact that he's got the darts in this last leg, Mertz is a heavy favourite here from this position.
Well, when you talk about heavy favourites, you've got to look at Andy
98.
Bolton was the heavy favourite to win this group. And he's staring down the barrel here of back-to-back defeats, which could really
99.
put his qualification into question.
I'm not putting it into question. He still qualifies, even if he loses this game. I'm hanging my hat on that because I just believe that his game is in such a good
100.
place.
Oh, I
Alexander
agree.
Juarez,
I'm just
78.
trying to set the tone.
Tone set. Double top. Match start for Alexander Mertz.
38.
That one had a
Andy
jetpack
O'Connor,
on it.
108.
So they've both had a chance to win. $60.
60.
Thought he was going to go for the 48 and
40.
tops there. Double top for Alexander.
30.
And he misses 2 visits for the match.
Andy O'Connor, 48.
Bolton is dodging bullets. Is he winning? Well,
Game,
you'll
shot,
think that was a
and a match,
very, very
Andy Bolton.
fortunate win. But in the end, it was a really good contest. Sometimes in a campaign like this, in a group as tight as this, you sometimes just have to get on with games that maybe you could have lost. The stats will tell you that Andy won that game with better numbers, but ultimately, Alexander's going to be cursing himself. And he's only got 1 game left. He will play Jordan Brooks in game 10. Andy will play Mark Hilton in game 9. And before that, we've got a feisty encounter for you. It's Klassen against Brooks next.
Thanks for staying with us here at the MODUS Super Series, and why wouldn't you? What an interesting, exciting group this has been, and it's a group that is led by Jordan Brooks. A man in your picture right now has won both of his matches so far. Looking to go through the card tonight. Still 2 to play. Jelle Klassen, well, this is his last outing of the evening. 2 defeats and 1 victory for him. There is still the possibility that this really closely contended group could end up at the halfway stage with all of the players on 4 points. Brooks, though, hoping to put a bit of a gap between himself and the field and guiding you through the action. It's back to Matt and Paul.
Thanks, Murph. Yeah, this is the last one for Klassen tonight. And game number 3 for Jordan. It'll be interesting to see where they end up. Jordan's already at the top of the tree. But if we get a good performance here from Jelle Klassen, this is how close this group is.
Throw first.
This is why we love it so much. If he wins by a certain margin, he can go from 5th to top.
25.
It's changed again.
4 games, 4 different setups. That is new on me. That's one thing you haven't seen from Jordan tonight. He's had 1 set of darts the whole time, the traditional
44.
approach. But let's go back to that. Klassen currently sitting in last position in the table.
134.
Based on legs won, because he's won 1 leg less than Mark Hilton. If he was to win by 4 legs to 1 in this game, he'd go from 5th to 1st. I don't think I've ever seen that in a Group B before. Not when I've been sitting in this chair.
58.
We had a situation a couple of weeks ago with a Group A where if the player would have won the match, he'd have won the group, and lost, he finished 4th, meaning Group C. There was only 2 options that could have been in that game.
So Group B wasn't even a consideration?
No, all or nothing.
134.
You were on the balcony there for what's coming next week, and we will delve into that tomorrow. But I, like you, am very much looking forward to seeing our good friend Cam Crabtree. This game, and I know from personal experience, because I know what Jelle likes and what he doesn't.
99.
He doesn't like hot
Yellow bar,
environments.
150.
He doesn't like to hang around. Jordan's got a very erratic pace. He tends to think about a lot of shots, and he traverses the hockey a bit, looking for
Yellow
angles.
bar, 158.
This is going to have to be patience from Jelle if he's going to get through this one. One, 3-3 left with 1 dart.
28. Yellow requires 70.
Double top.
50.
And that one just
Jordan
seemed to
require
nosedive in the air at the
130.
end. This one's going to have to be from a different angle. You can see in the background, Klassen is looking for some sort of inspiration, but don't look, because it's in. That one is not.
Yellow require 20.
I think he might have been watching the darts on the TV screens.
Game shot on the first
Well, you
leg.
can watch
Yellow
that,
Klassen.
because it's a 1-0 lead. Yes or no answer. Is Jelle Klassen happy
Second
with
leg,
an average of
Jordan to
85 for the
throw
night?
first. Game on.
I think Jelle Klassen, regardless of the average, won't be happy with a maximum point haul of possibly 4.
Good answer.
77.
I mentioned that about the TV screens because I know it's something I found myself doing on stage, where in a moment where someone's got a dart at a
80.
double, rather than watching the board, you'd watch it through the TV screen because it like disconnected you from the moment. And then I see, after doing that, people like Peter Wright do it all the time. They don't actually
100.
watch the board, they watch the TV screen if they need to look.
Oh, do you know something? I remember playing Kim Hybrex at the World Championship, and all I did was watch the screen,
135.
and it was annoying me. Because those screens were one of the reasons why the crowd was so vociferous I should have just found my own little bubble on the
60.
stage, and I might have even won that game, but I didn't. I think from that point on, I decided not to look at the monitors. I thought, look at the floor.
134. $58. Yellow
What would
coin,
Klassen grade himself then if
152.
he does get 4 points?
96.
Must improve. He doesn't need to improve. I think 8 points will be enough to get you through. But by the standards that he sets himself, he'll probably give himself a
58.
C-me.
Yellow
And
coin, 56.
he'll probably have about 10 sets of darts that he wants to evaluate in that setup.
You never know. He might have 4 different sets tomorrow.
Game shot the
Might have
second
8
leg.
different
Yellow
sets and 8
Klassen.
different games. But what he has got is a 2-0 lead, and it's very up and down tonight, isn't it? He loses 4-1
Third
to
leg yellow
Bolton.
to Throfers.
Then he wins 4-0
Game on.
against Merckx. Then he loses 4-1 to Mark Hilton. So by virtue of patterns and behaviours, he's going to win
99.
this 4-0. And it's going to be nowhere near as quick as the game against Merckx, because Brooks is nowhere near as fast as Alexander. Now, our host, Chris Murphy, has just
77.
reminded us. Do you remember when Lee Budgeon played Fallon Sherrick in the very last game of Group B one time? And he could only finish
96.
top or bottom. Imagine that for a bit of a head scramble. Win in, lose, wooden spoon.
93.
By the way, he did finish bottom. He lost to Fallon Sherrick. And she lost in a final to a Dutchman
96.
in week 3 by the name of Marino Michels, someone that Yellow knows very well. Three different countries are represented in Champions
59.
League as it stands. England, the Netherlands and Sweden. We could even get a third Swede next week.
58.
Wouldn't that be a turn up for the books? And by the time we get there, we could have our second Dutchman in the shape of Merckx or
90.
Klassen.
Yellow coin,
Because Patrick
152.
and Willem from Group C are not going to qualify.
Well, Klassen came into this
65.
knowing that the best he could get out today now was 4 points. It's sort of like a plan B approach when you come into this. He probably would have been expecting to at least be going for 6 here.
We've talked a lot about Yella in this game. But what we need to do is understand that Jordan is not playing his best game here.
96. Yellow coin,
He's averaging
87.
mid-70s. And while he's doing that, you've got to expose it.
Game
And that's
shot the
exactly
third
what
leg.
Klassen's
Yellow
doing.
Klassen.
Much better on the outer ring and the ball now. 50%. And this is almost a carbon copy of the
Fourth leg
game
Jordan to
that he had against
Throfers.
Merckx.
Game on.
Jordan is a character, isn't he? He pulls more facial expressions than most dart players before one dart is even thrown.
134.
He's got one game left before the end of the night against Alexander. So he's
40.
going double Dutch before the end of the night. He's not the only sheriff in darts as well. Do you know who the other one is?
96.
No.
Colin McGarry.
Ah.
36.
No, wasn't he the chief?
You're absolutely right. You've called me out then. You've done so correctly. Why did I think that Colin McGarry was the sheriff?
139.
What's wrong with me?
I believe Cord Decker was the sheriff. He was here a couple of weeks ago.
97.
I'll
Georgia
just say
coin,
yes, sir.
132.
Well, take the ton and run here. Well, I don't agree with that play because if you go for the 60 and get it, and you go for double 6 and
74.
split it, you're on double 3. Thoughts?
100.
Yeah, I think I'd have
Jordan,
probably
you require 58.
been aggressive, but I get the play. I get the safety approach. When you've got that much time on your hands, don't overcomplicate the situation.
Try and leave primary doubles in those kind of
38.
positions. Don't be leaving tertiary doubles, like double 3. It's just asking for trouble.
96. Jordan, you require
That's a very,
20.
very useful last dart if he gets a look at 132, because that's gettable.
Game
Doesn't
shot of
matter.
fourth leg, Jordan
It's not
Brooks.
going to be a carbon copy of game 4. Klassen will have to win a different way.
Fifth leg yellow to throw first. Game on.
He's been looking at his
81.
hand for the last couple of legs. Maybe a little bit of late night perspiration or maybe a little bit of residue from the board with the chalk.
I just don't think he's releasing the dart well. We're seeing a lot of
100.
the time like the arm almost just sort of snapping rather than coming through.
This is better.
Doesn't
get any better.
Nice rhythm and pace about those as well.
You notice how fast players have always got this question mark against themselves, like Callan Rids and Van Gerwen and Van der Voort.
100.
People say, well, they're too quick. Some players are better when they're quick. He's one of them.
78.
Absolutely, and he's proving it in this leg as well. It was almost like he realised the last leg was gone and thought, I'll just wait till the next one when I've got the advantage of throw. The James Wade approach where they don't want to waste good darts.
$97.
If there's one statement that'd be going through my mind right now if I was playing Jordan Brooks, it would be get rid of him. Get rid of this game as soon as possible
126.
before he starts making trouble. Because if this game gets tight, it's the kind of game he wins. So the best thing Yella can do is find double 18 and say goodbye to day number 1 in Group B with 4
Yellow
points
requires
and watch
36.
everybody else sweat it out. That's
Game
what he does.
shot and the match,
That was a good
Yella
performance.
Klassen.
The average is 87.89, which is above what he's done all night long. It's been a very interesting night for the Cobra, but he has won 2 and lost 2. He will be part of the conversation come Friday night. Make no mistake, Jordan Brooks is now... Hey, where's he gone on the table? He's gone down to 3rd position. Everything's changed in the table because of that fixture. We'll tell you more about it when we come back.
Hi there, welcome back to the Group B action here at the MODUS Super Series. It's a really fiercely fought group. We're going to show you the league table because looking at that, 2 points separating top and bottom, and with the way that the fixtures lie for the rest of the night, we could actually see a group where all of the players end on 4 points at the halfway stage. Yellow Klassen is done for the evening. He has finished on 4. Mark Hilton plays Andy Bolton in the next match, top against bottom, but that could easily change after it. And Jordan Brooks against Alexander Merckx. Merckx will be looking to join Jordan on 4 points himself. But for Bolton and Brooks in the next couple of games, they've got the opportunity to put themselves at the top of the table and in pole position going into tomorrow. So can the X Factor get that done here? Let's find out. I'll hand you back to Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, Chris. Last chance saloon for day 1 for these two. Hilton will now end his debut campaign here up against the very seasoned Andy Bolton, but that table, it threw me at the end of the last game. I'm sure it's thrown everybody else. So here's what happened in the table after the last result, which was 4-1 to Yellow Klassen.
Game on.
Andy Bolton went to the top of the table without throwing a dart. Yellow Klassen went from 5th to 2nd. Jordan Brooks went from top to 3rd. The only person who didn't change was Alexander Merckx. This table is balmy, but it's brilliant.
$58.
And full credit goes to our referee, Danny McNamara. He is doing all 25 games today. Not an easy job.
100.
But he's been right at the centre of all of this tonight. I'm sure he's had the best seat in the house.
He's had it all tonight, hasn't he? He's had some quick games. That 6-minute 51 game between Merckx and Klassen. He's had some good darts.
96.
155 finish from Alexander Merckx. Plenty of 180s to call. And a little bit of niggle.
Including Mark Hilton in that. Because Yellow Klassen did not like the way that Hilton was leaving the oche.
$96.
Like Chris Murphy mentioned, we have this possibility that all of the players could have 4 points at the end of the night. The only way that happens is if Hilton wins here and Merckx beats Brooks next.
And you require 100.
Do you think that's going to happen?
I think I'm going to stop making predictions tonight.
I think that's a very fair thing to do, considering what we've seen. This group tonight has been a total minefield when it comes to trying to predict darts matches. Is he going to stay there? Good call.
131.
My word.
And
that wiring of the double 11 was audible. Double 4. And double 2 saves his bacon or his tofu, depending on if he's a vegetarian. But he isn't, so it is his bacon.
Second leg mark to throw first. Game on.
Has Andy Bolton been the best player of the night?
Statistically, yes.
64.
And I suppose it's going to be hard to find someone to oppose him against. I'm purely looking at this by Andy Bolton's standards of what he's done for the last couple of days, and I think it's been a slight drop. Or something it's felt like that. However, can you oppose him and say that anyone's being a more man-of-the-match sort of standout performer? I can't really oppose it.
$41.
Well, prior to this game starting, he was averaging 90.73 for the night. Compare that to yesterday, he's less than a point
60.
under what he did on Wednesday. That's pretty good consistency, and you tend to get that from Andy. Let's compare that with earlier in the week. His average on Tuesday,
85.
87.08, and Monday, 87.23. So over the last couple of days, he has improved by around about 2 to 3%.
100.
It's less of a sample size on a Thursday and a Friday, though, because you play less games in Group B.
$81.
As for Hilton, started with a 71.52 average, raised it to 82, and then remained at 82 in Game 3. I'm not sure an 82 average is going to beat Andy Bolton here, so he's going to need to find more.
An 82 average hasn't really been enough to challenge Andy Bolton, not just here, but
100. And he requires
this week.
66.
Gets the ball. It's the bold route for
Games on the second leg,
66.
Andy Bolton.
Or as some people like to call it, the sexy route. Now, here's the problem that Hilton has got
Third leg, Andy to
in this
throw
match.
first.
If he's going to beat Bolton, he needs
Game on.
140s. He hasn't got any here. Having said that, the thing that totally rebuffs that is the fact that
87.
Andy Bolton hasn't got any either.
well, in Mark Hilton's game against Alexander Merckx and his game against Jordan Brooks earlier on,
82.
he was struggling to find them a little bit. He found more in the game with Yellow Klassen, which was the difference between the two.
77.
He hit more in that game with Klassen than he did in the other fixtures, which is why he came away with a victory.
I think based on what he was talking to me about earlier,
68.
I didn't ask him the question. And even without asking him the question, he didn't give me an answer that would have told us what his ambitions were. But I think if you offered him 1 or 2
42.
wins tonight, he would have said, yeah, I'll take that. He said he wanted to do himself justice. Has he done that?
I believe so. He came in with no expectation from
44.
ourselves, and on the basis of the lack of play that he's had. We know what it's like when you take time away. I think he's acquitted himself really well.
I have to agree.
40.
I think he's played better than I thought he would. We've looked at some of his stats away from the Super Series this year, and we thought, in this company,
28.
is he going to be competitive? We weren't sure. But sometimes with experience that he has, he can use that to really lift himself in this environment. And he has lifted himself.
I just get the feeling at the moment that he's just tiring.
59.
Like his race has been run a little bit at the moment.
Well, he's not going to suffer from dart lag. He's a former flight attendant. He should be able to handle the lag better than anybody else. But it's not a play on words or a
28.
joke or anything, but it looks like Andy Bolton's the one who's going to show him where the exits are.
Well,
Well, he's got 180s in this game, but he's got no 140s. I don't think Andy knows what's going on, but he'll be very happy with leaving double 8 there.
Oh,
we still haven't got a 140 in this game.
And he requires 16. Game
But
shown
we
the
have a
third leg,
3-0
Andy
scoreline.
Bolton.
This could be the ideal finish to the campaign for X Factor.
Fourth leg mark to throw first. Game on.
One more leg. He's guaranteed to finish tops. Sorry, top overnight.
140.
There it is. It's the first 140 in leg number 4.
137.
We get the vibe. It might be a bit too late. He's going to have to break the throw of Bolton twice. He's going to have to win every one of the last 4 legs remaining.
96.
He's digging in there. That was always one of the qualities of Mark Hilton as well, wasn't he? He didn't know when he was beat.
60.
What do you think his biggest achievement was in the heyday of his career?
It'll be a tricky one because everyone will value it differently. I wouldn't be
60.
surprised if he would put something such as being the PDC Newcomer of the Year in 2010 as one of his best achievements, because that's an award for an entire season, and you can only ever get that once because you're only a newcomer once.
99.
That's true. Everybody remembers when he got it. You know why. Because it was probably the longest speech in the history of the Dorchester Hotel.
97.
It was very nice, but it was long.
$60. Mark your core 108.
To save the match. He needs 3 of those.
$56.
Andy, who has
your
had
core 145.
quite a few good finishes this week, was looking for one more.
59. Mark your core 52.
Big puff of the cheeks. He's played a lot of darts this week. This is his 19th game of week 9. It could be over in 4 darts.
32.
3 belonging
And
to
you
him,
require 86.
and his day can be done. To be top overnight, he needs 74.
26.
Well, that was a tired shot, wasn't it?
Mark your
It was
require
just a rushed,
20.
expectant dart at the 20s, and he's just overpitched it, threw it off the board.
Game
But he's
shot
going to have to
before
go
leg,
another leg.
Mark
He's going to have to
Hilton.
refocus and find that Andy Bolton spark, because
5th leg Andy
that was a
to
big drop
throw
off
first.
there in
Game
terms
on.
of the levels from Andy Bolton.
You've played at this time of day in this building. When you hit the wall mentally, it's pretty hard, isn't it?
84.
Oh, always, yeah. Absolutely. I think when you look at the physical and mental side of the game, I think they're 2 completely different sort of energy bars as such. If we're going to judge it as like a old
38.
Mortal Kombat game, just beaten down on 1.
I can just see Mark Hilton hovering with about
46.
15% power left. And if Andy Bolton hits a 140, that will dwindle. I'm waiting for the finish him.
$70.
That'd be funny, wouldn't it, if we put energy bars on the screen? We just sort of tried to work it out where we thought there was.
I'm all for it.
100.
With all of the statistical analysis we have these days, that is a possibility. I wonder what Andy's finishing move would be. The juicy wiggle uppercut.
85.
What did that character used to say that popped into the corner?
Which character was that?
We used to uppercut someone on Mortal Kombat.
Oh, get over here.
No, that was Scorpion.
Oh, okay.
60.
This is the most retro conversation I've had this week, which is saying something. Oh, this is good.
119.
It was very good. One more treble would have got him to a finish.
96.
switch. He will have a look at 115 with options. Some people like bull. Some people like 19s.
He may have options, but he might not have time.
122. And
That's a great setup shot there for Mark Hilton.
Ah, the old 19s trick. Double 18.
97.
Can't quite put the full stop on it.
Mark requires 67.
This is to conserve a little bit of his energy. Oh, no. That's not what he requested. And Andy's now got options on 18.
27. And
Either go for double 9 or split it. It's a go. And he's got a marker now.
9.
But he hasn't got a match win.
Mark require 40.
You might be thinking to yourself, how is Mark getting away with this? Double 16. The game
shot on the fifth leg,
continues.
Mark Hilton.
One of those messy 40 checkouts that everybody hits now and again.
6-leg
Taking
mark to
advantage of
Rofer.
what looks like
Game on.
an Andy Bolton that is a little tired. Can you imagine the carnage
140.
if Hilton was to win 4 straight legs and take 4 points into Friday? He currently sits at this second
137.
in last position in the table. He wins the game, he won't be last. He's definitely part of the equation come day 2.
45.
Well, if we're talking about purely points, he will be joint second. $135.
In moments of tiredness, in these kind of formats, there's nothing like a little bit of anger just to get you woken up again. I sensed a bit of anger in that 2 treble visit there for Andy.
190.
First 180 of the game for Mark. What's gotten into him? What's getting into both of them?
190. Mark require 136.
What a leg this is from both. Specifically Andy Bolton, who's only missed the treble 20 with 2 of his 9 darts he's thrown.
And 137, 135 maximum
41. And
to finally get the job done. Ooh! How close was that?
Game, shot,
Well,
and the match,
that was close
Andy
enough.
Bolton.
But he almost didn't get a look at that double 16. He almost busted it with 1 dart. But it is going to be Andy Bolton on 6 points and a leg difference of +4 overnight. He could be caught by Jordan Brooks, but he'll have to beat Alexander Merckx in our final game of the night by 4 legs to 0. Well, regardless of what happens in the last match, we've got a really tight group in our hands. Let's put it to bed when we come back.
So one more game to go on the first night of action in Group B, and it has been a close run thing so far, but how close will it be at the end of the night? We will find out after this last game featuring Jordan Brooks and Alexander Merckx. If Brooks wins it, he will join Andy Bolton on 6 points at the top of the table, but if Merckx wins, then he will join Brooks and Jelle Klassen on 4 in a three-way tie for second. And guiding you through each start in this match, as they have all night, it's back to Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
Yeah, regardless of what happens in this fixture,
First play,
everyone is
Jordan
going to be
to
involved on
Rovers.
Friday, which is always a good thing.
Game on.
But what we do know is that Bolton has finished on 6 points. He may have some company. But then again, look at the other end of the table. Mark Hilton caused problems for Andy Bolton just now. He's on 2 points at the foot of the table at the minute.
64.
That could change if Alexander was to be gubbed, in the words of our commentary colleague Chris Mason.
140.
But even with Hilton on 2 points at the foot of the table, he is going to be involved come Friday because he's not that far away from the top 3. My prediction for this game, I don't know about you guys at home,
68.
but based on what I've seen from Alexander Merckx in the past, is he's going to finish strong. It's just what he does.
140.
Certainly was yesterday, wasn't it? He was only put in his best performance of the week so far, and that's what earned him this place to be here in this Group B and have this advantage.
Well, he knew it as well, didn't he? When he went into that
60.
game in Group A, he knew that if he won that final match, he was going to be
100.
here instead of playing on Thursday afternoon. That game was against Sebastian Białowski, so it was not an easy fixture. And just to emphasize the strength of that performance, Białowski
100.
averaged 92.11,
121.
which is above his weekly numbers. And Merckx did him 4-1.
67.
It's happened way too many times for me for it to be an accident. He always finds his best stuff towards the end.
137. Alexander Quar 54.
Double 9.
36. Jordan, you require
I
72.
don't know about that. I just think that 18-18 with his angle of attack, he's going for a bed that's got something in the way.
40. Alexander, you require 18.
I emphasize this every single time I'm in this commentary chair. I don't know anybody who
In
likes
front of the first
double
leg,
9.
Alexander
That's why he's gone
Merckx.
288. He's obviously got his roots for certain numbers. He doesn't mind going for double 9 when he's got one dart, but when he's got
Second
more
leg,
than
Alexander
one,
to
he will
Rovers.
split it.
Game on. $140.
Well, that prediction of yours looking good already. That's his third score of a 140 or more.
Not even at the halfway point of like 2.
60.
As the only person this week using blue points. Well, that one looks purple,
44.
and that one looks like half and half.
But they've not always been, have they? I think they started off as just silver. Then there was one blue point, and
Yeah, I do get the feeling that he's got 2 different sets. But they're the same construct.
46.
He's not like Klassen, who's got 4 different setups for 4 different matches. So it was the same
40.
type of dart with the same groove patterns, same stem, same flight.
do you find it's interesting though? Because I'm sure if you ask someone like Klassen, how does he feel tonight's gone? He'll say it's been inconsistent. But if you do inconsistent things, surely you expect an inconsistent
83.
output.
See, that's remarkably logical.
57.
Try telling that to a dart player, and they'll just bat you out the park. Maybe someone has been reading Einstein. You know that famous Einstein saying?
60.
Doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results, is the definition of
60.
insanity. So maybe by changing things up, that's the route to success. For Klassen here, for Peter Wright in the PDC, maybe for others.
96. Alexander, you require 160.
Time will tell.
56. Jordan, you require 156.
Well, we have seen a 156 today. That's an interesting reaction to a treble 20. And there's another one. And a double
In from the
18.
second leg, Jordan Brooks.
Well, as far as reactions go to 156 checkouts, that's not what I expected.
That could be the greatest 156 I've ever seen in my
Third
life.
leg, Jordan to throw first.
He surprised himself by hitting
Game
a
on.
treble 20. To be fair, I think he took us all by surprise. It wasn't really going his way until that point. But that could be the turning point of this match.
80.
I'm trying to figure out what he was thinking after the first dart. Did he think it was missing?
100.
Doesn't really matter, he did hit it. We've seen some big finishes this week, haven't we? Seen a 155
100.
from Luke Littler. He's hit a 170 as well.
100.
But that might even spur Alexander on a bit more. If you could describe Jordan Brooks as a dart player in one word, what would it be?
96.
Do you need some time to think about it?
Chaotic.
59.
I don't think you're too far off. I
58.
did say the word chaos was going to follow us tonight. It has.
44.
Well, I just
Jordan,
get the
you
feeling that
require
156 has
167.
changed this game because Merckx was in a really good position until that point. And after all of the song and dance of this week involving 16-year-old
59.
Luke Littler and all of the stuff we saw this afternoon in Group C, I was fairly confident in my prediction
96.
of Klassen,
Jordan, you require 108.
of Bolton and Merckx being the top three in this group towards the end of day two. I'll tell you one thing now. I'm not that confident anymore.
56. Alexander, you require 102.
Well, just like the 156 turned the last one. Could be another big ton plus checkout.
70.
He almost
Jordan,
hit
you
double
require
eight there,
52.
even when he didn't want it. Two 16s.
Game
And
shot
that
on
is the
third leg,
lead for
Jordan
JB.
Brooks.
I always laugh when people
Fourth leg,
snatch the
Alexander
darts
to
out the
throw
board like that.
first. Game on.
Treat your darts with a little respect. The last thing you want to do is snap a point like Callan Ridds did last week.
97.
I could tell you a good story here from a player who actually plays here at the MODUS Super Series. Happened in Coventry many years ago. So
85.
the player comes up, misses the shot, and at the time was really into his martial arts. Decided he was going to do
60.
a roundhouse kick to kick the darts out the board. Ended up kicking the board off the wall. So they had to go get him a screwdriver set. He had to fix the board
60.
back onto the wall again.
Are you going to name and shame those?
Yes, of course I am.
Who is it then?
Mark McGeaney.
Really?
85.
Now everybody's got a mental projection of Mark McGeaney doing a roundhouse kick.
Chap who was sat at the front doing the cards just went,
60.
that were clever, weren't it, kid? And passed him the screwdriver set.
95.
Yeah, good darts there from Alexander to leave a finish. Good thinking. Only the one treble required to leave that finish, whereas Jordan needs 2.
100. Alexander,
One will have to suffice for now. Very smart.
132.
Good thinking. He hasn't panicked at any point. He could easily be in the distance in this game. But Matthew Edgar called Jordan Brooks chaotic, which is not far from the truth. He is a very difficult proposition.
Game shot on the 4th leg, Alexander Merckx.
Oh, that one was super quick, wasn't it? 2-2 now.
5th leg,
And
Jordan
the closer this game is,
Game
the
on.
closer everything is in the table. Especially with the leg difference as well. From top to bottom, there's a difference of 8 legs. That, in Super Series
43.
darts, is one match. Because if you lose 4-0, one person loses 4 legs, the other one
78.
gains 4 legs. Disparity of 8. This is turning into the tightest Group B I've ever seen.
Just going to make a really interesting decision day tomorrow when we
134.
dish out our last 5 spaces for players to get through to finals night. See if anyone
100.
can stop Luke Littler. We're making it 5 from 5 down here.
I don't think you'll
40.
find many people who think that Littler's not going to win this week. But that Saturday night cauldron of knockout darts and
86.
very short groups. Anything can happen. When you're on 237,
40.
I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm always thinking 137 minimum to get to the 2 darter. He's not going to get there,
97.
but he does get the treble 19.
Interesting point of the game. We're getting into the business end.
93.
This game will be the
Alexander Roy,
first game tomorrow
140.
as well. Which I think these are going to be the 2
60.
that are battling it out for that 3rd
Jordan Roy,
place.
151.
You think so? You might be right. Before this game is concluded, I'm sure Merckx would love the same start come Friday night because he did beat Hilton by 4 legs to 0. That was in game 1 this evening.
81.
But
Alexander
first
Roy,
things
80.
first. Single 20 and double top.
40. Jordan, you require 70.
And this has got Jordan Brooks written all over it. This is how he's been rolling tonight. He's been waiting for his chances and he's been taking them. 2 8s. Chance
Game
taken
shot on the
again.
5th leg, Jordan Brooks.
And now he's 75% on the doubles. 3 hits from 4.
6th leg, Alexander to throw first. Game on.
Every now and again, just watching Jordan on the hockey, it reminds me of Conor McGregor.
60.
He's got that swagger. He doesn't wave the arms about the way that Conor does, but he's definitely a confident individual. Both averaging 79 in this final game.
59.
And this is drastically under par for Alex in a last game of a campaign, because he
140.
usually has plenty of gas in the tank, even at this time of the morning.
$100.
This is what we've seen on the outer ring in this game. Very acceptable for Alexander, 2 from 6, but he's
100.
made to pay for every single miss he's made in this match because of that brilliance from JB.
100.
Which means that when Alexander gets chances now, he must take them because he is aware of the threat of what Jordan can do on the outer ring.
124.
That last shot was for the treble 16. He obviously didn't want to leave double 12.
$58. Alexander requires 77.
This is a very famous shot. But it wasn't done this way.
Game on the
It was
sixth
made
leg,
famous by John
Alexander
Part
Marks.
20 years ago to win a world title. Alexander goes his own way.
Seventh and final
And
leg,
now
Jordan
it's a one-leg
to
shootout
Throw
to see where
Game on.
these dart players will sit overnight in the Group B table. Full credit to Alexander. That really was a great finish. His best finish of the match so far.
98.
Best finish of the day. Richard Hosey,
85.
160. In his very first leg as a Super Series player as well. Ending a 12-darter in his very first match.
99.
We'll see more of Richard on Friday afternoon from 1 p.m.
100.
You'll see more of Jeff Murray. They're both on 6 points overnight. Both trying to catch Sebastian Białowski on 10 points.
41.
And more work for Harry Ward to do, but he's got 6 points as well. 2 spots up for grabs.
100.
And realistically, 4 people going for them. As for this table, it's going to be all 5 players involved. So make sure you can join us from 10 p.m. Friday
46.
night. And at this time tomorrow, we will know who's joining Luke Littler on Saturday night for the Week 9
42.
finals. And remember, if you can make it to Portsmouth on Saturday night, you can be here. Dartshop.tv to find your complimentary tickets. We'd love to see you here. You might even see both of these players.
57.
Or one of them. Or none of them. Any combination is still possible.
130.
That is a haymaker of an approach shot from Alexander Mertz.
160.
That is exactly what Jordan Brooks did not want to hear. Alex is not going to hear his worst nightmare,
84.
which was 160
40.
game in the match. Double 5.
Game,
He finishes
shot,
well
and the
once
match,
again.
Alexander Mertz.
And that restricts Jordan Brooks to 4 points. And with that victory, by 4 legs to 3, Alexander Mertz has put himself in a provisional qualifying position. It wasn't a classic game by any means. Alexander Mertz was tested, and he did pass the test. Earlier in the match, we saw a 156 from Jordan Brooks. His reaction to it was probably just as good as the shot. So we'll have to settle for 5 players going for 3 points in one day, which will be on Friday night. But to bring this night to a close, it's Matthew Edgar and Chris Murphy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. It has been a thrilling night in this group, and that last match just typified that, didn't it?
Yeah, I think these are the 2 players that we're going to see at the back end of the group where we're going to say this is going to be the battle for 3rd place. So big victory there for Merckx, and I think if you can do the double over Jordan Brooks, that might be enough now to really put his chances very, very strong at getting through and joining Luke Littler.
Yeah, it's been a night that's been filled with drama. There's been some close games. It's going to be a close group coming into tomorrow. But there's been some interesting stuff going on the stage as well. Mark Hilton's only victory tonight came against Jelle Klaassen. Now, just cast your eye over this, Matt, and look, we'll see that the winning double go in, but then there was a bit of a conversation afterwards.
Yeah, so from what we can gather, it was a discussion around exiting the oche. So Jelle's suggesting here when he gets down, he's not stepping off the oche, he's actually jumping off the oche, where actually, when it came to that last game, I think it actually affected Mark Hilton a little bit because he was almost tiptoeing around the Yoki to overcompensate for it. Now, Mark Hilton's one of these sort of characters that get a bit of a spring in the step. It's something he always has done. Even just walking around the room, if he starts to feel good, he's got a bit of a bounce and a bit of a spring to him. So I don't think this is a deliberate ploy. I just think it's just rubbed Yellow up the wrong way at the wrong time.
But Yellow Class was a quick player as well. I mean, if I was playing against him, I think I'd be jumping out of the way.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. And the other thing is he approaches the Yoki so quick as well. So there is also that argument of there probably isn't a lot of room there. If you look at the position in which the referee stands, there's not a lot of room when you've worked round them to be able to exit the Yoki with much room when Yellow's already there with his arm up ready to throw. So it was a little bit of something, little bit of nothing, but it's going to make it interesting if they play again. Well, when they play again tomorrow, they're going to have to, aren't they?
Yeah, and there was potentially something between Andy Bolton and Jordan Brooks as well earlier. That was sort of less obvious, less exaggerated, and they could have been the top two for that, but that defeat for Brooks. But Andy Bolton, is he deserving of being the main man tonight?
Absolutely. He was the bookies' favourite coming into this. I did question it, thought maybe Yellow Klassen would be someone who could really rival him for that, but he's been the standout player. When we look at how the night's gone and what Andy Bolton's produced, he's been the most consistent with flashes of brilliance. That's what you need to win groups.
Yeah, and he just got through it, didn't he? We did see him start to flex that shoulder for the first few times tonight, but as you said, he knows how to win. He did it in Group A earlier this week, didn't he? Just hasn't been at his brilliant best. I think the first time he came here was the best we've seen him, but since then he's just been grinding out wins, as you say.
It's interesting you say about flexing that shoulder because I reckon if you clip it up tonight, we could get a Super Series yoga DVD out of what we've seen tonight. There's been a lot of movement on there today. I was watching Jordan Brooks in that last one with like the spaghetti arms as well, which just shows me that there's tension up there. And they're just a bit fidgety. They're just a bit out of their sort of comfort zone. And that's testament to how the group's played and how tight it is.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of movement in the table tonight as well. But this is how it's all ended up after the first night of play. Andy Bolton, top of it. He's 2 points clear of 3 players, and then Mark Hilton in 5th place. But, of course, the top 3 go through, so nobody through, nobody out.
I don't think Mark Hilton realistically has aspirations or thoughts of actually getting through this group. He's here on Saturday to defend his belt against Richard Hosey, who's taking part in Group C. And I think that's where his focus is. And this is all just a bonus for him. He said that in his interview himself. If he can pick up a few victories, great. If he somehow gets through, I think that'll be an absolute sort of miracle for what his expectations was coming into this. But he's shown today that he can play. And he could certainly upset the people that are trying to get through and seeing this as something as part of their career.
Who is getting through?
I think we're going with Bolton and Klassen, and then potentially Merckx. Because of that win over Jordan Brooks, that is the big one. And it'll be a very, very interesting game when them two open up the show tomorrow night.
Well, that show will be opened at 10 p.m. live on Sporty Stuff TV and the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel. And the Group C action gets underway as well. 1 p.m. for the return of that group and the conclusion of it, should I say. Getting my words mixed up. It is getting late, isn't it? But go on quickly. Who's getting through that group as well?
Group C, I've got to go with Bielecki. He's been fantastic today. He's been really, really good this morning, or afternoon now, should I say. And I think he could go through the card again. I don't know who's going to beat him in that group.
Yeah, actually yesterday. So we're getting yesterday, today mixed up, but hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. So do join us at the MODUS Super Series.